going to be insanely cringy and embarrassing for me. But it will also be really, really funny. Hi everyone, it's Mex here, and today I'm doing another impromptu video. Listen, things have been very stressful recently. We all know the guy came back. There's no other way of saying it. He came back. We know what's about to happen. We're all a bit stressed out, you know. I'm having my nuclear war anxiety. You gotta love OCD, man. You really gotta love OCD. I haven't slept properly in the past 5 days. I think you can tell from my eyes that I haven't slept properly in the past 5 days. But regardless of all that, I decided to do this fun impromptu video where I'm basically embarrassing 16-year-old me when I'm turning 21 in like less than a week. Yeah, less than a week, because February 11th is my birthday. So here I am embarrassing myself before I turn 21. Isn't that like just so fun? Now you're probably thinking to yourself, Mex, how exactly are you going to embarrass yourself? I am going to be reading my Persona 5 fan fiction that I made back in 2020 when I was 16 years old. You thought that I was fucking kidding about this. I am not. Now, just before you really jump me, now I'm not going to do a whole deep dive into Persona 5. Like, I do want to do a Persona 5 video, but I just don't have the setup to really do that. Like, I don't have like a PC or a PS5. Fucking hell, I don't even, like, all I have is a Nintendo Switch and like my laptop, which I've been using for like schoolwork, and that's gonna not go well, like recording Persona 5, recording myself playing Persona 5. My laptop can barely hold on to an editing program before, you know, shutting down. So if you're wondering how I've been doing my videos, I edit on my phone. I record on my phone, I edit on my phone. So yeah, my laptop would not be able to handle Persona 5. So Persona 5 is going to be a bit of a later thing. But throughout like this reading, I am going to like give you some little tidbits of like lore and some basic understanding. So if you're like watching this video and you're like not super familiar with Persona 5, I'll at least give you like some type of information where it's like it'll make a little bit more sense to you. So if you don't know, Persona 5 is a RPG Japanese game by Atlas. It's one of their really like everyone's heard of Persona. We all know what happens with Persona fans. And personally, I really like Persona 5. I remember watching a lot of gameplays for Persona 5 back in like 2018, 2019, before like the pandemic like really started to hit. Like, I remember being super excited for like Royal coming out. Like, I remember seeing all the videos for like Royal and the gameplay for Royal. It was like so exciting and fun to see it happen in real time. So I got the idea for this fic back when I was like 16, I would say in the beginning of 2020, like, you know, when they were like just seeing the COVID cases and everyone was like, oh, it's nothing to worry about, nothing's gonna happen. I remember telling my ex, I was like, man, I'm so worried about like this COVID stuff. I don't know what's gonna happen. What if this causes like a pandemic? And she was like, girl, there's not gonna be a pandemic. And then there was a pandemic. But that's neither here nor there. So this fanfic, and y'all can boo me for what I'm about to say, is canon XOC. I know. Let's just get it all out of the way. I know, cringy, embarrassing. We all know all the things that come with like combining OCs with the canon or shipping them with like canon characters. I don't really give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck then. I don't give a fuck now. I will continue not to really give a fuck further on. Like, there's nothing for me to really care about when it comes to that type of thing. Like, every single fanfic that I think I've made, if it's not ship-centric, then it's probably gonna have some sort of OC X canon or original lore X canon. Like my Genshin Impact fic that I'm doing, and I do want to do a video about that one as well, because I feel like I did much better writing on that one. But I'm gonna wait until I at least reach Fontaine, because right now I'm on Inazuma, and I kind of forgot how long the Inazuma Archon quest was. Listen, that fic is already like reaching 200,000 words, and I haven't even released the Inazuma chapter yet. I don't even want to imagine how many words it's going to be when I reach Fontaine. But that's neither here nor there. So getting into it now, my OC's name, her name is Marma Odabale. I know. Like, yeah, you can jump me if you want. I actually do, like, this fanfic actually inspired me to want to make my own animated series, and I am currently learning how to draw, so who knows, maybe you'll get to see Marma Odabale on, like, YouTube for some indie animation. Like, you'll never know. I mean, you know now, but you'll never know. But Marma Odabale, she's friends with Akira, and if you didn't know, for Persona 5, the protagonist of the game gets like 2 names, and it's for the Persona 5 protagonist, like, everyone calls him Joker. Like, that's the title that everyone kind of uses throughout, like, the actual game. But for fans, you can either pick between Ren Amamiya or Akira Kurusu. Me personally, I picked Akira Kurusu because I personally think it sounds cooler, but that's just me. I know other people might not agree, but that's me personally. I just think that Akira Kurusu sounds cooler than Rem Amamiya, but neither here nor there. Anyway, the basic premise of this fic was it is a Persona 5, what am I saying? It's the Persona 5 protagonist has a palace, and you're probably thinking to yourself, if you don't know anything about Persona, what is a palace? So the general basis of Persona 5 is that the Phantom Thieves, which is like Akira Kurusu's like gang, you know, they're the motherfuckers who are dealing with the shit. Basically, every single bad guy has a palace. The palace is, in a sense, a physical manifestation of that person's badness. So it's basically like entering into their head and trying to convince them to stop doing the bad thing. Like, let's go with like the first villain of the game. He's a gym coach who is basically sexually assaulting the girls on the volleyball team, and he has also physically assaulted some of the boys on the volleyball team as well. In fact, Ryuji, one of the characters, was directly involved with this abuse, and it ended up like messing up his knee, and he actually like walks badly because of this abuse that happened. So he was a really bad guy. His palace is like his manifestation. So how it goes is you have like these keywords, and it basically shows how this person views certain things. So for example, for the coach, he views the school as a palace, and he views himself as the king. You use these keywords to help you unlock the palace, and then you can go into the palace, and you basically just like do a bunch of adventuring and fighting until you're able to like get into the palace, get into like, and you have to find their treasure. And their treasure is basically like all their insecurities, all their stuff that basically makes them do the things that they do. Think of it as like their ego, basically. And once you get that treasure, the person is like, their palace will cease to exist, and then they'll basically like just stop doing the bad thing and actually admit to doing the bad thing. And that's what basically happens. The only way you can get them to like give the physical manifestation of like their ego is by sending a calling card to them in the real world. So it's like a separate universe. So metaverse is where all of like the mental stuff happens, like the palace, the ego. Sometimes you'll even see memories of like people or how they view certain people from the real world in like this, you know, mental manifestation. It's a very interesting concept. It's very hard to get into in like a very short amount of time, but like that's the basis that I can give you for. So in this fanfic, basically the Persona 5 protagonist has a palace of his own, and that's a bit alarming to everyone else, because it's like, oh, but he's a good guy, why would he have a palace? What reason is there to have a palace? And it is safe to say that not all palaces are like, oh, you're a bad person who did bad things. Sometimes you just have a palace because of maybe how you view yourself, or how you view the world, or how you like deal with the responsibilities of the world. So it's not that he's a bad guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, in this fanfic that I made for him, he did do something bad, but technically it wasn't his fault. Technically. I cannot emphasize more about the technically. So he has a palace. A little more to get into. This takes place after Sai Nakajima's palace, and somewhere in between Shido's palace. I couldn't give a specific date when this was happening, but that's just like the basis of where it's taking place. If you don't know anything about Persona 5, just know that this is like a climax event of like everything that's going on. This boy is literally hiding out from the government because they've killed him. Like, the Phantom Thieves are like kind of considered terrorists. Like, if you're watching this video and you know nothing about Persona 5, then this is like absolutely insane. But if you do know something about Persona 5, it's like, yeah, that fucking tracks. But yeah, technically speaking, at this point in the game, the Phantom Thieves are like considered terrorists. It is basically being said that the leader of Persona 5, well, the leader of the Phantom Thieves, which is Akira Kurusu, is fucking dead. He's not dead. He's just hiding out for like a prolonged period of time until they can like clear his name and everything like that. So this is taking place in between that. I have my own original lore in this as well, and I'll explain that on the way. So let's actually get into reading this. I recorded this way too late. My mom was gonna be home in like 30 minutes, but let's see. Here is my basic summary of the fic so you can like understand it a bit more. Akira is a Zunai, a rare supernatural that is used to help with fighting monsters. But after an incident that involves his sister, he stops. Now, a year after the incident, Akira is noticing some weird changes. Will the Phantom Thieves be able to save their leader with the help of a mysterious girl from his past? Now, I'm going to get into the Zunai thing and fighting monsters a little later on, but let's just go through chapter 1 and then I'll explain myself a little bit more. So, chapter 1, Senses. Akira felt weird. He wanted to believe that it was just a side effect from the drugs he was given, but he still remembers this feeling. The feeling that something was crawling in the deepest shadows of the night, of something ready to drown you in the deepest, darkest parts of the sea. The feeling of unease, of eyes you couldn't see, the whispers that could drive one mad, the feeling of a monster. He told himself that someone else would answer the whispers, someone else would answer the call, someone else will kill it, but his conscience said otherwise. What if someone gets lured there? It will be your fault if they get trapped. What if the monsters enter this world? It will be your fault to let them enter this dimension and take it over. What if the monster kills someone? It'd be your fault that their life was cut short. It will be your fault. He'd stopped monster hunting a year after the incident with his sister. He couldn't keep doing it. Sure, the people at the MCA, Monster Control Association, it's a whole interdimensional thing, okay? Listen, if we can have a mental manifestation universe, then yeah, I'm gonna make alternate dimensions, okay? Don't fucking jump 16-year-old me, okay? I thought I was hot shit. Who knows? If this gets enough likes, maybe I'll even continue this fic, because I left it unfinished. Like, the last time I posted a chapter was in 2023. So it's been a good 2 years since I've done that. Back on this. So why now? Why was he feeling why when he was finally making friends again? Why when he was almost accepting his sister's death? Why when he has a multitude of problems in his life? He got up trying his hardest not to wake Morgana, but Morgana woke up anyway. Akira, his voice was groggy from being suddenly awoken. What are you doing up? I'm just getting some water. He pet his fur, which caused Morgana to purr. You can go back to bed. You can go back to sleep. Morgana wasted no time falling asleep. He tried not to make it too much noise so that he didn't wake up Morgana again. He stared out the window of LeBlanc. Keep in mind, the protagonist of Persona 5 lives on top of a cafe that his guardian basically owns. Like, that's where he stays. Because I forgot to mention this, he's on probation for a crime that he didn't commit. People say that he assaulted a politician, but that wasn't the case. He was actually protecting a woman from being, like, you know, assaulted by him, and he ended up getting falsely accused for, like, beating up a guy. So he's staying in Tokyo for these reasons. The streets were empty since it was so late at night. It was relaxing, the quiet and solitude. But just like any time he felt any sort of peace, something had to ruin it. The whispers that came from the monsters snapped him back into reality. The whispers, no matter how many times he heard them, always sent chills down his spine. Whispers were what a monster wanted to do. The dark desires from their black hearts. It was like a knife cutting through your skin. These whispers were the same as every monster. To kill. Why did he keep thinking it'd be different? He'd never once heard a whisper that was a cry for help. Maybe he was holding out hope that monsters weren't all bad. That maybe a few monsters out there were good. He laughed. What a stupid thing to believe. He was just holding out hope that maybe he isn't a monster too. But he was. Supernaturals and monsters were similar. Both had powers they weren't supposed to have. Only difference is one gained control and one lost control. See, look, I included the title. Isn't 16-year-old me so clever? And he had lost control. So was he a monster? Are all supernaturals doomed to that fate? Were they to become the same thing that they were fighting? And then, I don't know, when I was posting this on AO3, I have put this in italics to like show that this was the monster's like inner voice, but for some reason it did not like translate into like the program, so it just shows like a regular piece of text and it says rip them to pieces. The whispers were louder. The monster was close. He shouldn't worry about it. MCA had no idea about his probation, and he was in the city, and he didn't work there anymore, so he couldn't be reprimanded. He would just go to sleep, pretend this didn't happen. Someone could end up like your sister. Curse his conscience. He walked back up the stairs, and Morgana was still asleep, completely oblivious to what he was about to do. There were a few boxes in the corner of his room. He pulled one of them out. Inside was a violin case. Just looking at it brought back memories. Opening the case, he saw the violin that MCA gave him. It was silver with spots of black. It was made of a special metal that made it easier to use in battle. He held it in his hands, plucking the strings lightly so that he didn't wake Morgana. It had been a year since he played. He couldn't play without breaking down in tears, so he had stopped playing. His parents had been disappointed, probably because they had spent so much money to help him learn to play, and he just threw it away. But it felt wrong to play. Playing only reminded him of his crime, what he had done. The yelling, the energy that was cast from my song, the blood. You're a monster. He snapped out of his memories. He could self-wallow another time. He hurried back down the stairs and tried his hardest to open and close the door quietly. The street was empty. At least he didn't have to worry about someone getting brought in by accident. And then, again, the monster senses Azunai, which is what he is. And I know, again, it's cringy as fuck. Y'all don't have to get on me. Well, at least he has the monster's attention. Now he just needed to lure it. He tuned his violin and placed it on his chin. He had missed this. He hates admitting it, but he does. The feel of the violin on his chin, strings under his fingers, the bow in his hand. Stop, he'd said to himself. Don't get used to it. He started to play. The rush of emotions he felt was unbearable. His love of playing, the regret of what he had done, the unease of luring in a monster. He could feel tears starting to fall. He lifted his head higher, trying to stop them from falling. Now wasn't the time to cry. The world around him started to change. The street lamps turned off. Heavy fog was starting to set in, and the world was turning bleak. And then he saw the monster. It was thin. It was shocking that it was even able to walk. Though it did walk with a peculiar gait. He could see the monster's rib cage and a few of his other bones. The monster's arms had long claws. His face was gaunt, and sharp teeth that seemed to be too big for his mouth came out, and a long tongue. Black, soulless eyes peered him up and down. Well, look what we have here, the monster's voice sounded distorted. Azunai. I never knew this dimension had them. Akira stayed quiet, his bow on a string, ready to make a barrier if he needed to. You're not talkative, are you? Akira stayed quiet. Well, that answers my question. The monster ran up to him in a flash. He hit a note and a red barrier appeared. The monster crawled at it. When it seemed like the barrier couldn't be broken, the monster jumped onto one of the roofs. Akira played another note as his bow turned red. He slashed the bow in the air as a red burst of energy hit the monster straight in the chest. Blood began to pour from the monster's wound. For a second, Akira thought it was over, until the monster started to laugh. Flesh started to knit back together. The monster looked up at Akira. A twisted grin appeared and a glimmer of joy appeared in his face. Crap. Akira started to run. Of course the monster can regenerate. It can't be simple. If the monster can regenerate, then that means he'd have to decapitate it. He strummed a few notes as his bow began to glow red again. He walked out looking around for the monster. It was quiet. Was the monster planning to ambush him? Scanned the roofs but saw nothing. Could it turn invisible? As if regenerating wasn't enough. Akira jumped onto one of the roofs. He couldn't see anything with all the fog. Did he get away? Something grabbed onto him. The monster was clawing at his back, ripped at his arms and back and face. He could have slit his throat if Akira hadn't fallen off the roof. He felt his left leg break. The pain was unbearable, but he knew he had to get up. He tried to stand, but his body refused to move. He had to wait for his rib to heal, but he didn't have the time. He looked over at his bow. It still glowed red. At least he didn't have to replay the spell. He grabbed it quickly. He tried pushing himself to his knees, though it took most of his strength. He could feel his legs starting to heal. Would it heal fast enough? The monster was mere meters away. also trying to get himself off the ground. He got up first. His sinister smile appeared on his face. He gave a slow clap. I must say you put up quite a fight. Too bad it wasn't good enough. Shut up, Akira yelled. It wasn't over yet. If the monster ran out to him, he might be able to cut his head off. But the monster was fast. He could miss if he didn't time it just right. Look at that. He pointed a claw at him. Zunai talks. You know, I almost feel bad for you. I tried getting up again, but my body refused to move. My legs were still healing, and I couldn't reach my violence fast in the process. You lured me here to kill me, and you did put up a fair fight. Too bad it went to waste. Akira tried moving his legs. He was able to stand on his right leg, but his left wouldn't move. I can't wait to tell the others I ate at Zunai. He licked his lips. I heard that they're quite delicious. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold. Akira stared at the monster who was rambling about eating him. Was this how he was gonna die? He hadn't even said goodbye to Morgana. Morgana even know he was here. No one would know he had died. If he got stuck here in the bridge, no one would find his body. But if it came to the real world, he couldn't imagine how the Phantom Thieves would go on. Would they be okay? Maybe he deserved this. This was a fitting death to a monster like him, killed by the very thing that he is. Maybe this was a blessing in disguise. He'd always worried about losing control and hurting one of his friends. Maybe this could prevent it. The monster was facing him now. It smiled and started to walk closer. Just accept it, he whispered to himself. You deserve it. He looked up again and saw butterflies. White butterflies were flying around him and the monster. Wait, was she here? I know, it's cringy, I know, but shut up. The sound of footsteps came soon, and the monster looked behind. The person was wearing a cloak and jumped over the monster, laying a hand on the top of the monster's head. She landed in front of Akira and used her body to protect him. 1 minute the monster was standing. The next it was screaming in pain. Butterflies were coming out of its eyes and mouth. His body started to dissolve as butterflies coming out of everywhere as if they were eating him alive. The screams died down as there was an uneasy silence. The butterflies were now crowding around the person. They turned and faced him. Is it really you? Akira was shocked. The person pulled down their hood. It was a girl. She had dark skin and black curly hair. Her eyes were a light brown. She had white lines marked around her face, one in the middle of her forehead, 2 by her eyes, and 2 on each side of her cheeks. Those were new. She smiled. It's been a long time, hasn't it? She held out her hand to him. It's good to see you again, Akira. Now I know. I'm not gonna sit here and say that that's not cringy as hell. But 16-year-old me was having a ball. What can I fucking say? Like, it was fun. I'm not gonna, like, could I have written this better? Absolutely. Like, reading this now, I could have definitely done better with the writing. I will say I was definitely going for, like, wanting to do some cool stuff without, like, accounting for, like, additional lore. So I won't lie, it was a little bit cringy, but we got like a good 15 chapters. If you do see me wearing different clothes, it's probably because I was not able to finish recording in time before my mom came. So who knows, maybe we'll even get a little night episode. Okay, so now we're on chapter 2, Becoming a Monster. Akira couldn't believe his eyes. It had been a year since he had seen her. He didn't think he'd see her again. That last conversation they had felt like she would never want to see him again. Nice to see you again, Marima-chan. Yeah, I was using like Chan and stuff because I saw other people doing it. I kind of regret it. If I could go back and rewrite this, which who knows, maybe I will, but I would probably take out all the Chans and Kuns and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it technically does make sense if we're thinking about like Japanese grammar. Like, yes, technically speaking, as a formality, he would use like Chan because that's like the honorific he used when addressing a girl. So he grabbed her hand. She lifted him up with ease. I thought you stopped fighting monsters. He scratched back his head sheepishly. Well, I heard the monster and I didn't want anyone getting hurt, so I decided to fight it. Her eyes gleamed. Are you considering joining MCA again? He shook his head. I'm not. I'm just haven't heard a monster in a while and decided to help in case anything happened. Her small smile started to go down. Oh, she kicked at the dirt. I thought this was your way of saying you wanted to come back. It's not. She looked sad. He messed it up again. Besides, I'm too busy right now. I understand, she said solemnly. She looked around. Looks like we're back. He had raised his head. The streetlights were back on and a few people were walking and gave them weird looks. I won't lie, something that I am glad that I've done recently with my writing is knowing how to be more descriptive, like getting better at writing certain emotions, adding additional detail to like surrounding areas. Like if I were to read my Fra Fraterna one, I will say my earlier chapters of Fra Fraterna definitely are similar to this, but if I were talking about my more later chapters, then yeah, I think I do a better job at like describing surroundings and how a person might be feeling about certain things. Like I feel like I did better when it came to like descriptions about like not just places but emotions. But right now I kept it very like simplistic. So I should get going, Marma said, taking a blue candy from her bag. Are you hungry? I asked. Yeah, I was switching between POV a lot. I don't have a beta reader, so 9 times out of 10 I'm like rereading this myself. Sometimes I don't even like reread it because I like to like get another chapter out. So sometimes I'm not even doing a grammar check, and you can tell because I switch POV like multiple fucking times. So she's like, sorry, I lost track. Okay, so he's like, are you hungry? He didn't want her to go just yet. Yeah, but I don't know if I have the time. She looked at her watch. I have to go to a school for my next mission. I have to take the train, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get lost. I can help you there, he said. He knew it was dangerous, but he did want to spend more time with Marma. Besides, he could just wear a hoodie and a surgical mask. One thing I did forget to mention is that one of my tags for this fanfic, in case you do want to like read it, I do have rape and non-con, and that's not because of like, you know, some like weird fetish thing. It is more so because the character Marma does have like a past of like SA, and if I do an animated show with her in it as well, I would definitely still keep that element of her character in, because I do think it's kind of important to her character, and it does show like an SA survivor like trying to like, you know, go about her life after being like SA'd, especially at a younger age like she was. But do keep in mind that it never happened because I never got to that portion of the fic. That was supposed to happen in the 4th circle, and I'll get into like the whole circle thing a little bit later. So back to where I was getting at. You sure? She asked, trying to hide her excitement. I don't want to bother you. It's not a bother, Akira said, holding her hand. I've been living here for a while, so I can help you. She smiled. Thank you, Akira. Akira could feel his cheeks getting hot. Come on, I'll make you something. He tugged lightly at her arm and she started to walk. When they reached LeBlanc, he could see the confusion on her face. She was used to seeing his house back at home. What happened to your house? She looked around as if she was trying to find the house from behind LeBlanc. I'll explain when we go inside. Akira opened the door quietly and Marma walked in, looking at the cafe in awe. Marma came from a dimension that didn't really have color, unless you considered gray colorful. So whenever she sees different colors, she does tend to get excited. I will also still keep this element in because, again, multiple dimensions, why not include something like that? It's so colorful, she squealed. Well, when you come from somewhere where gray is colorful, then yeah, I guess I could see the appeal. He started to make some coffee for her. Look at these lights. She had somehow managed to get on the table and had trouble with the light shade. Hey, Akira yelled over there. Be careful with that. I don't want to get in trouble with Sojiro. She stopped playing with it and jumped down. Who's Sojiro? Right. She didn't know about the probation. Might as well tell her now. Have a seat. He brought some coffee and started to heat up some curry. 'Cause it's long. That's insane, she said with curry still in her mouth. I'm sorry, Akira. It's alright. He took a sip of coffee. I'm used to it, so it's fine. It's not fine. He saw something shoot from her cape. She seemed to have noticed and patted them down. I'm okay with your wings. Yeah, she has wings. And I, like, y'all cannot hate on me as much as I hate on myself, okay? Like, yeah, is it cringy? Absolutely it is. But let's be honest here. You're telling me that you don't have an original character that you gave fairy wings? That you're gonna let them keep those fairy wings? Like, come on. She was using fucking butterfly powers. Like, come on now. Like, don't jump me. We can have some fun. I'm just saying. Anyway. I know, but I don't want anyone to walk in and see them. So are the Phantom Thieves nice? Yeah, they're good friends. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve them though. Marma frowned. You deserve to be happy, Akira. I know you don't think that, but I do want you to know it's true. He understands what Marma was getting at, but he couldn't accept it. He was a monster. He'd kill someone. Not just someone, his own sister. He doesn't deserve that type of happiness. I'm worried about you, Marma said, looking me up and down. Why? That fight with the monster, she twirled her finger around the table. That took way too long for you. He tried to ignore her, but she was right. A monster like that would have taken him about 10 minutes to finish off. He couldn't just pass it off that he hadn't fought monsters in a while. But with the Phantom Thieves, it should have made it easier to beat it. I was just tired, he said, looking down. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep lately. I can tell, she said as she grabbed my hand and traced along the lines. My mom is outside, so we'll continue this a little bit later.
Back again.
Again. We kind of knew that this was going to happen. Anyway, it's nighttime. I'm going to at least see if I can get to like chapter 10. But like this fic is like 50,000 words. I could probably get through this like pretty quickly, depending. But like if I can't make it to the full 15, I'll probably just make it to like 10. And then you'll see me again the next day, bright as day, with a new outfit and everything. And we'll pretend like it's nothing. So where was I last? She took out a small knife. Akira tried to pull his hand away, but she kept a firm grip. It'll be quick. She must have seen how panicked I looked because she rubbed my hand. I promise. He closed his eyes. He felt the coldness of the blade and then the pain. It was sharp. A hot pain coursing through his palm. He could feel blood starting to come out. He opened his eyes and the counter was covered in blood. He could see the skin on his palm starting to knit back together, but it was slow. A cut like that would have already be gone. But now it's not even halfway done. Marma's brow furrowed. I've never seen your healing take so long. Neither have I. He looked at his hand. Was he losing his powers? Can that even happen? Calm down, Marma said as she grabbed the cloth and started cleaning the blood. I'm sure it's just because you're tired or stressed. Are you sure? He saw her eyes dart away from him quickly. Marma, are you sure? It could be. She shook her head. No, it's impossible. What? He asked desperately. That you're becoming a monster, she said sadly, looking away. Akira's heart dropped. I could have waited longer to do this reveal, like, looking back on it. Like, it was way too quick for me to do that, but 16-year-old me, what did she know? But monster healing is almost as fast as Zunai healing. Mine's is slow, he said desperately, so I can't be changing, right? Marma stepped back. For what I've read, when a Zunai is about to turn, their healing slows down so they can be fast when they turn. He couldn't breathe. The interrogation. Afterwards, it took almost 2 days for his wounds to go away. And those wounds usually would have been gone in an hour. Now he was starting to panic. What if he lashed out? What if he hurt someone? What if he killed someone? He felt a slap across his cheek. Marma standing in front of him. Snap out of it, she yelled. Everything's gonna be fine. You said you haven't slept. That can slow down healing. Your stress. That can also make it slow. Have you been eating? No. Well, you should. And your lack of eating is also part of the problem. So as long as you start taking care of yourself, you'll be fine. And Kira nodded. Marma always had a level head. She could come up with solutions to problems. She could calm him down whenever he was panicked. That's what he loved about her. Okay, now that that's resolved, take off your shirt. What? He stammered. Take it off. Why? Because it's torn up. She went up behind my back and put her arm through a hole. See? Oh, I completely forgot about that. She sighed. Just go get ready and I'll clean up. Thank you. Are you almost done? Akira asked. She had been in there for 40 minutes. I'm almost done with my makeup and then I'll be out. And why are you putting on makeup when you're about to fight a monster? It's to hide the tattoos, duh. He thought those marks on her face were just painted on. He didn't think they were tattoos. The door opened and his jaw dropped when he saw her. In the same uniform, the Shujin. That's the school that he goes to. It's Shujin Academy, where he is basically treated like... Well, they don't treat him nicely, I can say that fucking much. Listen, I have so many like Persona 5 fanfics where the protagonist has a powers that I could read. There's this one fanfic that I really liked. I really want to do a video about that fanfic. It's called It is just a light rain. The author is like really good at writing, and I think they abandoned the fic, but like I love the fic. I now probably just make a video about how much I like the writing and the premise of it in total, but like I'm not gonna like, you know, say where it's like, oh, harass her, because like, no, I understand it, because I'm also like, don't get me wrong, would I kind of like to like go back and to finish this up? Yes, but at the same time, this shit is so bad. Like, it's gonna be like really jarring to like read 15 chapters of this, and then chapter 16 is just like a completely different writing style. But like, then again, I abandoned this fic for like 2 years, so I guess anyone who was following this fic was like, yeah, I guess there would be some improvement. But sorry, off topic. Akira had decided to escort Marma to Shujin. He thought it would be difficult because of the crowds, when in actuality, it was Marma who was keeping them back. Since Marma came from a world that lacked a lot, they didn't have color, video games, manga. They had TV, but it really only showed news, and Marma was constantly distracted by everything. Like, she was looking at a map, a lady's outfit, clothing, this, that, and the other. Though it was pretty annoying, he couldn't lie and say it wasn't cute. Seeing her react to some of the most basic things as if they were treasures was adorable. Finally, they made it to Sujin, or at least near Sujin. He told her that with everything that happened, he would just give her directions to finish it off. Akira, she pointed at the woman across the street. That woman's hair is red. That's purple, actually. She likes to pretend that she doesn't know how like certain colors are. Like, she'll misname colors on purpose just to be funny. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe after school I can take you out and teach them, he said. He blushed. He was thankful that the mask was covering most of his face. Akira, I don't want you to get caught because of me. He could see the gears turning in her head. Unless I get, that could work. I will meet you at the cafe after school. Be ready, okay? She started running, and she waved goodbye to him. He felt a small smile tug at his lips. He didn't realize how much he missed Marma. She was just amazing. If it wasn't for her, he wouldn't be here. Dude! He heard a familiar voice yell. He turned and saw it was Ryuji. What are you doing here? An, Makoto, and Haru walked up to him. Okay, so all of these are like Akira's friends. So I'm just gonna list every single friend, and I'm gonna like put what they look like. Okay, so this is what Akira looks like without the costume and everything. And then I'll also show like a photo of him with the costume. So we'll just do a side by side. That's Akira, leader of the Phantom Thieves. He has the ability to wield more than one persona. If you don't know, personas are like these mythical beings that give you powers whenever you're in the metaverse, and they kind of help you out. That's basically what they are. Now, Ryuji was the very first friend that Akira made in the game. Now, Ryuji Sakamoto, this is him. He's the one who got like abused by their coach. Well, you know, his coach. You know, Akira didn't live in Tokyo originally. It's said that he comes from the country. He's a country boy. At least that's what has been said, that he comes from a small town. So Tokyo is like a very big deal for him. Or at the very least, you know, he's adjusting. But yeah, Ryuji, he's more rebellious. In fact, he's not even blonde. It's said that he dyed his hair blonde. An Sakamaki is also another friend of Akira. She is also kind of othered within the school because she is half, I think she said she's half American. I know she's half Japanese, but then she's also like half American. And it's either half American or half European. But like obviously she has blonde hair and blue eyes. So it's very much shown that she's like not fully Japanese. And so she kind of gets treated as othered because of that. She is a model. Like, she does modeling work like all the time. Like, she's very popular because she does modeling. Next up we have Yusuke. Yusuke does not attend Sujin like the other students. He attends I think he would call it like a private school. He attends a more like preppy school instead. He's a chill guy, I'll say that much. But, well, he's eccentric. He's very eccentric and poor, very poor. But, you know, he's a sweet little guy when he's not being eccentric. After that, we have Makoto. She is the student body president. She is also the eldest out of all of the other cast of characters that we do have. I think she's the same age as Haru because they're both in like the same year. Then after that, we have Futaba. Futaba is a homebody. More specifically, I forgot what the name is, but like she's more of like a stowaway. She just like stays in her room all the time. After they like get rid of her palace, she basically becomes more like out there. She starts going out more often, even if it's with like, you know, people that make her feel safe. But she is like learning how to like leave the house without like having a panic attack. After that, we have Haru. She is the last member to officially join the team, and her stuff gets very complicated, but she's a very sweet girl with a slight sadistic side. It's very much shown within the show that she might have some sadist tendencies, but we don't know that for sure. And then there's Goro Akechi. We cannot get too much into him without going into like very big spoiler territory, but like he is basically an ace detective. He goes to high school. He's like the crush of the town. Everyone's talking about him. The news sources are always talking about him, how attractive he is, how good he is. But this is all like a persona, a masquerade of who he truly is inside. In fact, he's the one who killed Akira. But again, I would have to explain the entirety of Persona 5, and that is again a video for another time. But if you're interested, maybe one day I'll do it, but that's just where we are right now. Okay, so back to where we were. He said I was helping a friend. Well, it wasn't a lie. She just needed help getting here, so I offered to help. Akira, that's nice of you, but you're supposed to stay hidden, Makoto sighed. Why didn't you just ask one of us to help her? She asked me, and I haven't seen her in a while, so I helped. He pulled his hoodie down more when a few students walked by. Besides, no one recognized me. I guess you do have a point, Ryuji said. But tell us something beforehand, okay? Promise. He started to walk back to the station, then Haru called. Do you want us to look out for her? Make sure she's okay? Yes, he yelled back. You'll be able to spot her pretty easily. What do you mean by that? An looked confused. Trust me, you'll know. Futaba, and this is like from text, like this, they're texting. So, Futaba, where are you? Morgana came over asking if you came here. Did you go to Mementos? Mementos is kind of similar to the palace, but instead of like being like an individual person's palace, this is more so like the general public's subconscious, like what all of like society, or what a vast majority of society is thinking. Like that's kind of like what it is. So, Akira texts back quickly. I just went near Sujin to help a friend who just moved. Akira went to get off this train already. It had been stopped for almost an hour because of mechanical issues. Thankfully, it had finally started and he would be heading to Yongan-Jaya. Someone tapped his shoulder. You look familiar, a woman asked, peering him up and down. Shit, did he get caught? Is this one of Shido's killers? I'm sorry. He tried his hardest to sound relaxed, but I think you have me mistaken for someone else. No, I don't think I do, she said a bit harsher. His heart was hammering in his chest. He tried to find the nearest exit. If he ran fast enough, he could get out the doors before the woman could get him. Then everyone in the train was gone. It was as if just him and the monster. He didn't have his violin or weapon, and he wasn't that good at using his powers without his instrument. That's also like a little bit of lore. The Zunai kind of harness their energy, or basically their powers, from their instrument of choice, and his choice of weapon is a violin. And because he doesn't have it with him, he can't really channel his powers. Sometimes, like, once you get older or practice a lot, you can do that, but like right now, no, he can't really do that. I know that it's cringy. I know you're probably thinking to yourself, girl, this is so fucking cringe. And I know that. But are you gonna sue me for that? Are you gonna fight me? I mean, I've never been in a fight, so honestly, you might just win. But neither here nor there. Anyway, back to him with the entire subway being gone. I thought I'd never see you again, little Zunai. The woman grabbed his face and turned it so he could see her. Akira knew who she was the minute he saw her blue eyes. She was the reason he'd killed his sister. A little monster told me your healing is slowing down. A creepy smile appeared on her face, and he could see her sharp like teeth. Do you know what that means? I'm not feeling well, that's all. Oh. she said as if she was admiring a puppy. The little Zunai is in denial. He felt something sharp against his chin. He saw black claws come from the woman's hand. He'd never seen a monster who was able to hide their claws. You're turning into a monster. She put another hand around my throat. And I have a proposition for you. Thanks, but no thanks. She scolded and let go of me. My proposition is when you turn into a monster, you work for me. He'd never heard of that. Monsters tend to stay to themselves, rarely together in groups, especially Zunai monsters. It was almost impossible to kill one. To put one in a group with monsters would be asking for a massacre. He laughed. She had to be joking. You crazy? Even if I was turning, I'd kill you in a matter of seconds. Well, it's something I figured out. You won't. Either way, it's a no. Her smile faded to a frown. Fine then. But just remember, I gave you the easy way. Her smile returned. Anyway, I have a gift for you. She put a white and blue bow in his hand. There were a few splatters of red. Then he recognized the bow. It was his sister. She worn it all the time. He knows that it had gone missing after she died, but why would a monster take it? He grabbed her hands grabbed tighter to his. That's her blood, you know. Her claws started to burrow into his skin. You can deny it all you want, but you're becoming a monster, just like your sister said. Old memories crashed into him like a tsunami. It almost felt like he was there again. Kira, did you kill me? Sounded just like her. But it couldn't be. But it was. She had the same curly black hair as her, the same gray eyes. He felt like he was going to throw up. And then her eyes turned red. Blood started to run from them like tears. It stained her entire face. She gripped his hands even tighter and blood started to pool over his hands. His heart was beating faster. It felt like it was going to burst out of his body. This isn't real, he told himself, but his mind just couldn't believe it. Yonkin Jaya, a chirpy voice announced. This is Yonkin Jaya. Akira twisted out of the woman's grip and started to run. She yelled something and a few other people started to yell at him. He felt someone grab him, but he was able to escape their grasp and kept running. Everything else was a blur. He ran into LeBlanc, panting hard and feeling he was going to faint. Where were you? Sojiro asked from behind the counter. I came in and you were gone. Morgana was at the coffee table also looking mad at him. He could feel bile building up in his throat. He rushed to the bathroom, ignoring Sojiro's questions. He hurled, gripping the rim tight. You could feel a slight pain in his arm. He looked and saw the monster claws were still stuck in his arms. That's probably why she was yelling. He started to take them out, but noticed something about his hands. The tips of his fingers were black, and his nails were suddenly longer. Black continued to creep until his entire hand was black. He started to pant. This couldn't be happening. This can't be real. And I actually got like 2 comments from this one. And it was this one person, and they were like, oh, so interesting. I'm loving this so far. And I was just like telling them that I appreciate it. Again, I'm not gonna like say, oh, this ain't cringy as shit. But it's like, you know, it's fun. I think we're having fun. Isn't it fun to make fun of 16-year-old me? Well, I have a blistering fucking headache. Well, not blistering, but a little pain on the side of my head. Alright. So, what do you think this friend looks like? Oh yeah, chapter 3, Marmot. So, what do you think this friend looks like? Ryuji asked, looking around at all the students in the courtyard. Akira hadn't given much of a description. They hadn't even seen anyone yet. The girl probably didn't have any of their classes, but they weren't anyone different in the halls. Maybe she's like a first year and that's why we hadn't seen her, Anne suggested. A few butterflies were fluttering around Haru. That could be the case, but I'm sure there would be rumors of a new transfer student. Why couldn't Akira be more precise about how she looked? Ryuji shooed away a few butterflies. Where did all these butterflies come from? They're probably just migrating. Makoto looked over and pointed at a girl that was walking towards them. I think I just found her. A girl with dark skin and black curly hair walked up to them. Her eyes were light brown and she was wearing black glasses. She bowed in front of them. Hello. And instead, because if you don't know, in Japan, instead of like introducing with your first name and then your last name. You introduce with your last name and then your first name, which I always found kind of like interesting, that like, especially like in Japan, like using a person's last name is like very customary. Even when you use their first name, you use like an honorific. So it's like, if you just use a person's like regular first name like we do in the States, it's like, oh, you're good friends with that person. Like, damn. Like, I just find that kind of interesting, how like different cultures and languages do things like that. But anyway, she says, I'm Odabel Marma. You must be Akira's friends. Nice to meet you. Makoto shook her hand. Najima, Makoto. They were shocked at how well her Japanese was. She looked foreign. Like, no fucking shit, she looks foreign. She's fucking black. Like, she's the only nigga here. For real? Ryuji? Oh, shit. I think I skipped a little bit. Okay, here it is. I'm so glad that Akira made some friends. He's quite shy. For real? Ryuji asked. That's like Ryuji's catchphrase if you don't know anything about Persona 5. Motherfucker is always saying, for real? For real? For real? Every fucking minute. But you gotta love him for it, honestly. He doesn't seem shy, just quiet. Well, he's gained more confidence, Marma said. She stared at them awkwardly. So what instruments do you play? I'm sorry, what? Anne questioned. Marma looked at them weirdly. Isn't that how you guys met? Through orchestra? They were all puzzled by this. Akira never said anything about joining the orchestra. He never said anything about playing an instrument either. We're not an orchestra. Akira isn't an orchestra either, Haru said politely. Oh, she said. She chuckled nervously. I guess he must have stopped playing after the incident. What incident? Anne asked. Marma turned the other way. It's not my place to say. They all exchanged glances, not knowing what to say. It was rather awkward. What about gymnastics? Marma smiled. He liked that a lot. He doesn't do gymnastics either, Ryuji said. Marma bit her bottom lip, trying to think of something else to talk about. So these rumors about this transfer student, who are they? Oh, you don't know. Ryuji rubbed his neck. They're about Akira. Marma looked at the group surprised. Then she started to laugh. She was laughing so hard that tears were forming in her eyes. That's very funny. She wiped away her tears. But seriously, who is this person? We're not joking, Makoto said. Those rumors are about Akira. Marma's eyes widened and she murmured something under her breath. Did Akira not tell you? Anne asked. Marma's eyes narrowed. I'm sorry, but I need to go. Goodbye. She walked over to a boy with blue hair. Why is she going to Mishima? Ryuji asked, getting up from his chair. Mishima is more of like a side character. He's not like a Phantom Thief per se. He's more like a Phantom Thief fan. He makes like a website, and this is where like people put in submissions for people who they want hearts stolen. Because a lot of people think that the Phantom Thieves, they don't think the Phantom Thieves are like going to like an alternate dimension and are like, you know, physically removing the manifestations of like these people. They think that like the Phantom Thieves are like going to these people and like beating the fuck out of them or doing some sort of like psychological torture. But like they kind of like how like they're vigilantes, so that's kind of like the whole thing that's going on. But everyone kind of thinks that they're like terrorists, or at the very least they're doing something illegal to get these people to confess to these things. But because they're getting them to confess, is it really that bad? Because it's normally they're bad things, really really bad things. Now, getting back to this because it's something else. That's very funny. She wiped away. Oh, yeah. I did that already. Marma smiled at Mishima. They started to walk back inside. The butterflies that had been in the courtyard started to fly towards the roof. That's strange, Haru said as the butterflies that were in her hair started to fly away. I'm gonna follow that girl, Ryuji said, walking towards the door. Ryuji, you can't do that, Anne exclaimed. That girl rubs me the wrong way. Feels like she's up to something. Ryuji went through the doors after Marma. Should we go after him? Haru asked. We might as well, Makoto sighed. They found Ryuji by the door of the roof. He was crouching and had opened the door a smidge so that he could hear her. Ryuji, An yelled. What are you doing? Shh. He pointed at Marma and Mishima, trying to listen. Cut the crap, Marma yelled. I know who you really are. The girls crouched down as they were trying to see through the gap in the door. I don't know what you're talking about, Mishima stuttered as he looked at the girl scared. I think you have me mistaken. They heard a gun cock. I know that, like, that is technically the correct way to say, like, oh yeah, the gun cocked. But, like, it's kind of funny. It's really kind of funny in an immature way. Marma was holding a gun to Mishima's head. Mishima didn't look scared. He looked eerily calm. What gave it away? Mishima's voice got deeper. Marma tapped her glasses. Helps you find changers like you. Changers are a type of monster. They basically take their prey into the bridge, that black and white place that I was talking about, and basically just like siphon off of that person's energy and basically pretends to be them until eventually the person just like dies from getting their energy sucked. So that's what happened to Mishima. She already got him out, but the, Doppel didn't realize until it was like too late. Now, a small shot rang out. Mishima fell to the floor as black blood started to pool around him. What the fuck? Ryuji shouts, but Makoto was able to cover his mouth so the Marma didn't hear. Be quiet, Makoto hissed. We need to alert the authorities. On, go get a teacher. On was about to go, but Marma said, You can come out, Mishima. Mishima walked from behind the AC system. He looked down at the body of him, scared, but continued walking towards her. Why does it look like me? Mishima stuttered. Well, I already just explained that, so I don't need to tell you. This is crazy. Mishima looked like he was about to collapse as he grabbed onto one of the desks, trying to steady himself. I can't believe this is happening. Marma rushed over to him and delicately resting him into one of the chairs. You need to rest. She took out a box and some water. Have this. You were stuck on that bridge for 4 days, having your life force sucked away. I can't take your lunch. Mishima handed it back. She shoved it back to him. You were stuck in another dimension with nothing to eat or drink. I can last a few hours without food. What does she mean by another dimension? Anne queried. I don't know, Ryuji said, sounding like he was trying not to gag. I just hope she gets rid of that body soon or else I'm gonna puke. Mishima finished the food. He looked so weak. Thank you again. I don't know if I can ever thank you enough. Well, there is one thing. Her lips curled in a flirtatious smile. A pink blush appeared on Mishima's face. What's that? A mask covered her face as she squirted something from a bottle. The minute it hit Mishima, he fainted. Marma stepped back as the mask disappeared from her face and a small smile appeared. I know, she said to herself. I should have probably done that earlier. But he needed to recover his strength. The other Mishima grabs her by the stomach. Dark gray starts to leak from her sides. A swarm of white butterflies goes towards the other Mishima. The other Mishima doesn't look like Mishima anymore. Black spines all over his body. A large serpent-like tongue slips out of the... Where did I put the thing's mouth? Oh, yeah, out of the thing's mouth. Its eyes as black as night, having a hungry gleam in them. This doesn't make sense. Marma was pressing her hand to her side. Changers don't regenerate. That shot should have killed you. The thing chuckled. Well, let's just say I've learned some brand new tricks in this group I'm in. Marma didn't hesitate. She lunged at the thing, able to put deep cuts into thing's skin. She jumped back, looking pleased. The creature started to convulse, crumbling to the ground, screaming, butterflies flying towards it as it picked it up, keeping the creature on its knees while it kept convulsing. A creepy grin appeared on her face. That was a neat little trick. She pulled out a sword and pressed it against the creature's neck. A sizzling sound could be heard as the creature grunted in pain. And I'm very interested to know where you learned it. I ate a monster, it said coldly. The sword pressed harder into its neck, Marma's face becoming blank. She looked at the creature menacingly. I would actually really appreciate if you would cut this act. The Marma's voice was lower as the sword pressed harder. I know, it's cringy, but like, Okay, I know. I'm probably gonna take out the aunt thing because it's like not necessary. I don't know why I included her having an aunt. It was just not necessary at all. But anyway, research about monsters. We'd know if monsters were mutating from eating other monsters. So tell me the truth. When the creature looked apologetic, when I was pretending to be that boy, this girl, around 5, she picked up a magazine and got a paper cut. Her skin knitted back together and I smelt it. The blood of a Zunai. I couldn't control myself, he chuckled. I tore it off her head, and then I ate her heart. It was amazing. And then, just like the woman said, I got stronger. An was turning green. Haru was a ghostly pale. Ryuji was trying his hardest not to throw up, and Makoto could feel bile rising up. The monster laughed harder as if it was telling a story about a funny memory, not the death of a child. I still left that head intact, so that she could at least be identified. It happened fast. The sword sliced through the monster's head as if it was nothing. The head fell on the ground and the body crumpled to the floor. As it started to disappear, flakes of skin lifted off the body and disappeared. Marma's legs buckled as she collapsed on her knees, and there were a few hiccups coming from her. Look out for that Zunai boy, the monster said before disappearing. He's next. A look of pure horror appeared on Marma's face. She staggered to her feet, but used the sword to stay upright. Erase everyone's memories of me. Take Mishima to the nurse. I need to get to Akira. Ryuji shut the door. He was shaking. The other girls were as pale as ghosts. That wasn't real, right? Ryuji stammered. She didn't just slice that thing's head off, right? When Ellen slumped against the wall, looking like she was about to lose her lunch. I don't know. Guys, Haru pointed at a crack underneath the door. What is that? Something white was struggling to get out of the crack. A butterfly floated out of the crack. Soon more were starting to emerge. Guys, I think we should go. Now, I will say that for this scene, technically speaking, the butterflies are supposed to kind of act like memory erasers, but like looking back on it, it didn't really make sense for me to include that because there are other ways that like MCA does like memory erasure and like getting rid of people's memories. So it was kind of nonsensical. I think I just wanted it there to be cool because 16-year-old me. Anyway, chapter 4 was me doing a bunch of fluff because I'm guilty, okay? I'm guilty of like having my OC have a romantic relationship with the protagonist of a video game. And you know, when I make my little animated series about her, yeah, I'll say it, the love interest is gonna be the guy. I mean, obviously he's not gonna look exactly like Joker from Persona 5. There'll be similarities, but they're not gonna look exactly like each other because of copyright. But you know, they're not gonna look exactly the same. I know. I've been working on the lore and changing things, so it's gonna look much better than how I'm reading it right now. Again, this is making me kind of nostalgic. Like, it almost makes me want to like go back and like rewrite this because I remember all the things that I was going to do. Like, I'm going to get into it a little bit later when I get into some of the other chapters, but like I remember having like this big extravagant plot, a whole conspiracy theory going on. It was like a whole thing. Like, I was like, oh my god, I am like so big. Like, I am like doing my shit for real, even though this fic barely got like 3,000 hits. But like, I was like obsessed. Chapter 4, what's happening to me? I honestly think I might stop at chapter 5 because it is currently 12:40 a.m. and I'm a little tired, so we'll see. Why do you even want to see him? Okay, this one I honestly think I'm gonna take out again. When I originally came up with this idea, I decided that I want to have the butterflies have like different personalities. Her power is basically that it's like a disintegration ability. You know, whatever she touches, it disintegrates. But to add on to it, anything that she touches kind of turns into butterflies, and then these butterflies become like a part of her. And she can kind of utilize these butterflies for like, you know, strength or pinning people down, confusion, those types of things. So the butterflies technically help. So I thought it would be a fun idea if the butterflies had like personalities, like differing personalities. But then I kind of like went against that because it's like, you know, you can't possibly have, because she's done this so many times, there are so many like butterflies that she just like has on hand, to the point where it's like, yeah, she probably cannot keep track of that many personalities. So it was kind of nonsensical, but I kind of see why 6-year-old me wanted to do it. It's like, you know, it's kind of fun, like different voices in your head. Now, this is just like the butterflies, like talking to her about like, you know, why does she want to even see Akira again? I said Aki because like that's what I'm gonna name the love interest for Marma in the animated show, Aki. So that was a little mistake on my part. But anyway, it's basically all of them are kind of just like, you know, why are you like forgiving him? He hasn't even said I'm sorry or anything like that. Like all kinds of other stuff. But Marma is very like strict and saying like, hey, we're not like on a date, we're just like hanging out. It's very simple. Okay, gonna skip a bit. She went inside LeBlanc. She expected it to be packed, but it was surprised by how empty it was. The only customers were an elderly couple. She trudged along the transformation kit while she opened the door. She stopped by the owner. He was an older man, black hair with bits of white sticking out and a beard. This must be Sojiro. Good afternoon, she bowed. I'm wondering if Akira is here. The Sojiro looked at me strangely but pointed towards the staircase. He's up there. She bowed again. Thank you. She was still in a bit of shock to know Akira was living in an attic, but he seemed to enjoy it, though she couldn't understand why. The attic was dusty. Either Akira didn't dust his dust or this room collected dust fast. Probably the latter, since Akira was a bit of a neat freak. There was a desk with a few tools, an old-fashioned TV and video game set. A few boxes were in the corner. There was a bed with a black and white cat looking at the ceiling. Aww. She couldn't contain herself. She always had a soft spot for animals. Akira never told me that he had a cute kitty. The cat meowed in what seemed to be frustration. Got a little attitude, don't you? She gave it a pat. Now where's Akira? The cat pointed at the ceiling. She looked up and saw Akira fast asleep on the rafters. She rubbed her temples as her headache seemed to have gotten worse. Now, this is like a callback to something that happens in the game. Basically, to like help him get like fitter and be stronger, he uses the rafters in like the attic as like a pull-up bar. And there has been like times where he just like kind of sits on them. I don't know why he does that shit. That shit is so fucking dangerous, but he's like done that shit in canon in the game. Like, it's dangerous as hell for him to do that, but he like does not give a shit. Like, I think I can even find like a photo of him like doing that, but that's sorry, but like, yeah. So she sees him, she's like, only Akira could fall asleep on a rafter when he has a bed. She could either get a broom and hit him till he wakes up, or use her wings and fly up. She didn't feel like walking back down the stairs since the painkillers were starting to wear off. She could already feel the dull pain coming from her side. Flying would hurt, but not as bad as walking downstairs. Besides, if she fell while flying, it wouldn't be too high that she would hurt herself. Unlike stairs, which if she did fall, she could probably break something. You'll keep my secret, she said to the cat. Right, kitty? Keep in mind that Morgana, even though in the real world he is a cat, he is like the mascot of the game. When he is in the metaverse, he is basically an anthropomorphic cat, as opposed to the real world where he is just like a cat that can talk. But he can only be understood by people who have been in the metaverse. So, and that was like a big deal. Like, that was a big plot twist within the game. And I'm not going to spoil it, but basically, you can only understand Morgana if you have been in the metaverse. Once you've been in the metaverse, you can understand Morgana speaking in like, you know, Japanese, English, whatever the fuck. But yeah, that's the only way you can understand. So Marma has no idea that Morgana is like, you know, kind of like humanly intelligent. She just thinks that he's like cat-like intelligence. So she has no clue that this motherfucker can speak. So she Her wings came out in a bright flash. The cat ran away. Oh, I scared it, she said. She hoped her wings started to flutter. She was hovering. A sharp pain struck her side. She'll make this quick. She flew slowly up to the rafters. Akira looked so peaceful. The stress that usually etched itself in his face was gone. Instead, he looked rather peaceful. It was actually pretty cute. Again, I'm gonna like forget about the butterflies for a second. Anytime I see them, I'm just gonna ignore them. So she tries to like wake him up, and she does after a while. And he like basically just jumps off the rafter, acting as if that's not like deadly, which it is pretty deadly, but hey, he's built different, as they say. Now Marma is like, I can tell. Why are you sleeping on a rafter when you have a bed? Why not? Akira jumped down from the rafter, causing the floor to shake. Because it's dangerous to you. It's dangerous to you. Akira, to you. He smiled. Like, he really enjoyed getting her angry, didn't he? It's dangerous in general, Akira, she huffed. She wasn't in the mood for this. Okay, you're right. He put his hands up in mock surrender. It's dangerous. She sighed. Why were you even up there? Well, he scratched his head. I was using the rafter to do lift-ups, and I got tired and took a nap on it. She stared at him in disbelief. So instead of just going to your bed, you decide to lift yourself on top of a rafter and sleep on it. Basically. She giggled. You really are a dumbass. Yeah, that was cringy. I'm not even going to read that line. That 16-year-old me, that is not... I cannot... Yeah, we're going to just skip that. If you want to see what that line is, then personally, you're going to have to read that shit yourself. I'm not reading that fucking line. I can't believe I said that shit. She started to laugh. Akira could always manage to make her laugh. It was like some kind of talent of his. She laughed too hard and a sharp pain tore through her side. She sat down on Akira's bed, breathing heavily while Akira tried to find the wound. When he found it, he walked over to a box and took something out. A case. A violin case. You don't have to do that, Akira, she said as she was taking the violin out of its case. I'm fine, Akira. Akira had a few weird powers for a Zunai, one of them being healing. Zunai could only heal themselves with their regeneration. Only a rare few were able to heal others. As sweet as it was, she knew it pained Akira to play it nowadays. After what happened, he didn't pick up his violin for weeks, and he stopped playing completely. Whenever he did, he'd just start crying. She didn't want him to hurt himself just because of a stupid cut. Akira, it's not even that deep, she tried to reason, while Akira played a few notes. I'll be fine. Does it hurt? He asked, looking at me softly. Well, yes, but I'll survive. She watched as he tuned his violin. Then she noticed he was wearing gloves. She cursed herself for not realizing this sooner. But also, why was he wearing gloves? Akira always complained that when he had to play with gloves. If you don't know, like, if you play an instrument, playing with gloves does make it, like, harder. As someone who's, like, played clarinet, I can definitely say I just made a mistake admitting that I know how to play clarinet. I already know, I can already feel the comments in the comment section, and you guys can have the field day that you want. But one time I did play my clarinet with some gloves on, or just, like, something on my hand. And when I tell you that shit was, like, so hard to play, like, I was struggling to, like, push those notes out. But yeah, I think I am gonna, like, finish at chapter 5. Like, I'm not gonna read chapter 5, I'm just gonna stop at it. And then we'll, like, continue onwards once we, like, you know, tomorrow. It makes playing so difficult, she remembered him saying. Why are you wearing gloves, she asked. Akira seemed to stiffen. He was hiding something. What are you hiding, Akira? She got up and walked towards him, eyeing the glove he was wearing. Okay, this is embarrassing, he sighed. I was taking a walk and I accidentally got paint on both of my hands. Does he think that we're dumb? This is the only time I'm referencing the butterfly. Akira, you may be dumb, but you're not that dumb, she crossed her arms. Just tell me the truth. Akira squirmed and looked away from her. She had to take matters into her own hands. She grabbed Akira's hand, and Akira tried to fight back. I noticed that younger me, when it came to writing, had an issue with like always doing like a period after any sentence, because I could have just combined both of these sentences. Because instead of just saying like she grabbed Akira's hand as he tried to fight back, instead I did she grabbed Akira's hand, period. Akira did try to fight back, period. But she was stronger than him, period. She threw the glove off and was shocked, period. Like, I definitely could have like combined those and like made my sentences more smoother. So it's kind of nice like rereading my stuff and seeing where I could have done better. Akira's hand went from a pale white to a midnight black. It seemed to be spreading. She rolled up the sleeves of his shirt, some black nearing his forearm. Whatever this was, it was spreading. Akira. She had barely managed to get the words out. We need to take you to the MCA. Akira shook his head. I'm fine. It's probably just a rash. That's not a rash, Akira, she shouted. I get it. You don't want to think that. I don't want to either, but we should at least go and check. Akira muttered no. Of course he had to give her a hard time. He was too stubborn for his own good, one of the bad things he inherited from his parents. She was too weak to just knock him out and bring him to MCA. She'd have to call for backup. She walked toward her bag and Akira must have caught on to what she was doing. He yelled, stop. She was taken off guard, noticing that her body refused to move. Her mind began to slow, like some kind of fog was clouding her mind. And then everything went black. Akira messed up. Mara wasn't moving. He looked at his hands. Purple light was shining from his hands. He was controlling her. Out of all his powers, mind control was the weakest. Now, I kind of just added this in for fun. I don't think I will keep it. Actually, maybe I will, but I will make it a more of a rare ability, and it's a much harder ability to control. Because, like, yeah, you can use, like, mind control when it comes to music. Like, that does, like, make literary sense. Like, we've seen this in multiple genres and tropes. So I'll probably keep that in when I make my own little original series with the lore that I put in. But, like, I will say, was it necessary for me to put in this fic? Maybe not. But mind control was his weakest. He could hold that person in his grasp for long. Either it didn't work or they snapped out of it pretty fast. Not to mention that he's doing this without his violin. He approached Marma. She still hadn't moved. She stared at the wall blankly. Marma, she didn't move. What if he couldn't snap her out of this? What if he messed up her brain? What would happen if she wakes up and realizes what happens? You could just erase them. The thought popped into his mind unexpectedly. It didn't even seem like his thought, like someone else. It sent a chill down his spine. He'd promised Marma he would never mess with her head again. He didn't want to break that. She'd never know. That was true. If he erased her memory of the discovery, it'll be fine, right? She'll never know. It'll be fine. Besides, you're already getting better. He looked down at his hand again. There wasn't as much black as before. Blackness only showing on his fingers. He played a quick tune and his bow glowed yellow. He placed the glove back on his hand. He rested Marma delicately on the bed. She stared at the ground blankly. Was he really going to do this? It's nothing that bad. It's one tiny memory. Nothing too important. Yeah, it was small. Insignificant. He waved his hand over by her eyes, and she stared at him blankly. He could do this. Marma, he hesitated. Could he really do this? Yeah, he could do it. Nothing too bad. I want you to forget that you saw my hand. Understand? She nodded. You can wake up now. The purple glow left his hand as Marma slumped onto his shoulder. He was starting to get scared. What if he erased all her memories? What if he didn't erase them and she remembers everything? And she stops being friends with him? Why did he do that? He barely had control of that and he decided to use it without thinking. What's wrong with him? Marma groaned. She pressed away from his shoulder and rubbed her head. Are you okay? He asked. Yeah, I'm fine. She rubbed her temples. What happened? You fainted, he lied, hoping Marma couldn't tell it was that. She was always good at finding out lies, no matter how good. Hopefully she'd be weak enough to believe it. I was going to heal your wounds and then you just collapsed. I know, the nurse had to rush my stitches, but I didn't know it was so rushed I'd pass out from blood loss. Rush. They sent a team to hunt a Zunai monster. She looked sad. It didn't go well. A lot of them had critical injuries. It was an absolute mess. The nurse taking care of me was rushed my stitches and wanted to go help since she was called. I had to redo a few though. I'm sorry, Marma, he said. You must be in a lot of pain. It's whatever. She took off the jacket for the uniform and lifted her shirt. Let's just get this done. Marma's stitches were terrible. Some of them were not completely closed. One had opened and blood was starting to ooze out. He pressed his bow lightly to her skin. She felt a small hiss of pain, and then her wounds were gone, replaced with smooth skin. All done. He got up. How do you feel? She lay down on his bed. No pain, she yawned, but I am tired. You could take a quick nap before we go, he suggested. Surprisingly, Marma didn't argue. She just nodded and fell asleep. And we're just going to continue because chapter 4 was like more of like a fluff chapter and parts of chapter 5 as well, if I remember correctly. Again, I can't be 100% certain. This video is going to be a long video. We're not even on chapter 5 and this is already going to be like an hour, and I'm really sorry about that. But hey, if I'm reading, like I'm live reading a fanfic to you guys and giving you like exposition, I'm honestly extending the time more than it needs to be. Marma slept for about 30 minutes. After that, she immediately got started on changing Akira's appearance. Now, this is just like something with my little lore and world building. To change appearances, they have like special makeup. It's not like regular special effects. It's like actual, like, I guess, magical makeup, you could say. I never fully got into it. It was just like, oh yeah, the makeup is like really good at like changing your appearance. Like really good at making you look like a different fucking person. Every time, okay, so she decided to do the eyes first since that'd be the quickest. Too bad it wasn't the easiest. Every time she tried to get drops into Akira's eyes, he would always yell or squirm. Akira yelled for the 1,000th time. She yelled back as she was starting to get annoyed. You want to go down this path? Akira asked, his eyes glistening at the thought of a challenge. If it means you'll let me put the drops in, then yes. They both started yelling. Can you two stop yelling? Sojo yelled. You're trying to scare away my customers. They stopped. Akira turned bright red from yelling. She was breathing heavily. You want to hear a joke? Akira asked with a mischievous grin on his face. No, she said, trying not to strangle him. I want to get these drops in so that we can leave. I mainly made this joke because it is canon within the game that he makes like really corny ass jokes. Like he doesn't speak a lot as a protagonist. Like most of the protagonists in Persona 5 are like silent protagonists, but there are certain like dialogue options that show parts of his personality. And on the one hand, he's very like suave and smooth and like kind of mysterious, but underneath all that, he is a fucking dork. He is a serious fucking dork. He makes the cringy ass jokes that you'll ever fucking see. So, why can't orphans play baseball? Akira said, ignoring her previous statement. She sighed. Why can't orphans play baseball? 'Cause they can't find home. It took her a while to grasp the joke. It's not funny, Akira, says the girl who thinks egg puns are funny. This is very cringy. Like, this is definitely, like, you know, that, like, the stereotype that's synonymous with, like, these types of fanfics. I definitely fell into that category. But I'm not ashamed of that. I'm actually proud of myself. And that's a bad thing to be proud of, but I am. Anyway, of course you would find that funny. You don't have comedy where you live. Whatever. She angled the drops. Now stay perfectly still so I can get this done. Akira sighed but complied, staying perfectly still. First drop, Akira squirmed. The second one, he didn't move as much. There, she got up and put the drops away. Wasn't that bad, was it? He pouted. I guess you're right. I'm always right. She kicked the kit and the hair products came up. She caught the razor. Now time for the hair. Akira ran downstairs. He's not making this, like, easy. An hour later and she had finally finished. Akira had made it difficult, though. Akira had her running down the cafe trying to catch him while his caretaker yelled a few obscenities. Thankfully, no one was in the cafe during that time. She untied the ropes from Akira as he rubbed his wrist and looked at her sadly. How could you do that? Akira started touching his hair. You said that you were in hiding, so I changed the way you look. She put the razor and gels away. Besides, you can regrow your hair anytime. She saw his hair growing back a bit. Stop that. Fine, he huffed. After we're done. Good. You got me. This was me being black for a second. You got me looking like Ryuji with this hair. She couldn't deny that. Sorry, low battery. She couldn't deny that. Akira's hair was now brown, short and spiky. His eyes now chocolate brown from their usual stone gray. She added a little bit more color to Akira's skin so that he didn't look so deathly pale. She didn't even look like Akira anymore. He honestly looked like a different person. Exactly what she was going for. Now we need to pick a new name. A new name? He looked at me confused. Why would I need a new name? Because no matter how much I change your appearance, if I start calling you Akira or Kurusu, someone is going to connect the dots. I guess you're right. So your new name is... It took a few minutes, but she finally got something. Ren Amamiya. I thought that I was so fucking clever. I thought that I was like so fucking clever. Ren Amamiya, he repeated. Where did you pull a name out like that? One of the animes that you made me watch. Which is true. I have the Persona 5 manga. I don't know if I still have it. I think I gave it away. But in the manga, they address him as Akira Kurusu. However, in the Persona 5 anime, he is addressed as Ren Amamiya. So, like, that's the difference. In the game, you basically pick whatever name you want. And then, if you read the manga, Akira, anime, Ren. Most people like Ren, though. Not me. We passed by Sojiro and he looked at Akira looking stunned. What the hell did you do with your hair? Sojiro asked. Just a trim. And a dye. Sojiro looked taken aback. The dye will come off when he washes his hair, and he's just wearing colored contacts, she said, hoping it calmed the man down. Could have said something beforehand. Just be careful, alright? Sojiro said, eyeing us seriously. Alright, we said in unison. So where do you want to go first? Akira asked. Well, a smile creeped on her face. I need to make sure that you're telling the truth. Mementos was their first stop. Mara wanted to make sure that he was telling the truth. Guess Marma couldn't believe that there was a dimension like that, even though she killed monsters for a living, and was literally from a different dimension. This dimension is... She drew on it for a bit. Interesting. That's one way to describe it, he said, pulling his coat over him. Mementos was a lot colder today. Is my mama? No. When did you change outfits? Marma asked, holding the coat. It happens whenever we enter, he said. He felt a bit silly wearing his costume in front of Marma. I like the outfit. She circled around him like a vulture. It's very thiefy. He felt a blush creeping on his face. Thanks. So can I see this persona? Sure, he yelled and then cringed. He was way too excited for this. I'm sure you'll love Arsene. That's the name of his persona. When you begin the game, that is the first persona you get, Arsene. And Arsene kind of gets a bit used. At least that's what I've heard people say. Again, I never officially played the game because I don't have like the stuff for it. But like from what I saw from gameplay, people always said that Arsene was just like really weak in comparison to like all the other personas that you can collect. So that's just me. But like I use Arsene. Nothing happened. No blue flames, no tall imposing figure. Nothing at all. That's weird, he said. Let me try again. He tried again and again and again, but still nothing. Arsene, Marma yelled as she smiled when he saw the look he gave her. I thought maybe if I yelled his name, he'd come. That's not really how it works. He smiled despite being frustrated. But good try. No problem. Maybe a fight will get him out. Come on, let's go. This was very popular whenever it came to like doing like these type of fics where the protagonist has a palace, because personas are technically like your true self. So like your persona is just like an embodiment of like your true self, your belief system, and everything that you've kind of like kept suppressed from society. You're breaking free and like letting that out. So a palace is like restricting all of that, or like not using that. So that's why he can't really summon Arsene. Hopefully I'm making this make sense for people who've never played Persona 5 or have like a very limited knowledge, but I feel like I'm not doing the best job at it. But that's just me giving it a try. They walked for a few minutes until they spotted a shadow. Stay back, okay? Marma nodded. He ran up behind it and pulled off its mask. That's kind of how you like summon the enemies. You can either do like a direct contact with them, like you could hit them physically. They could ambush you if you don't see them coming. But what you really want to go for is ripping off their mask, and then you can like fight them. Like you get like a little bonus because they're like stunned, so you can get like an additional hit in. That's like what you want to go for. So he summoned Arsene, but nothing happened. So then he tried another persona, which is Alice. Another fic that I want to cover, but this is like way longer for Persona 5, is Alice, There Is Nothing Through That Looking Glass. Some of y'all probably know what I'm talking about. I would have to read that entire thing and talk about it, but I would be willing to do it because I've always wanted to read that fic, but it is like super fucking long. It is like really, really, really long. I think it's like 500,000 words. It's a very long fic. Nothing happened. What was going on? Why couldn't he summon any personas? Blue flames wrapped around his costume until it was gone. His black tailcoat was now his regular black winter coat. His red gloves now black. What happened? He had just realized an attack was coming until Marma pushed him out of the way. You were in battle, she pulled out a sword. Stay focused. Then she kind of fights him, and what happened to your costume? Marma said, looking at my regular clothes. I don't know. This has never happened before. He's never had this problem with summoning his persona. So what happened? Why couldn't he summon them? I don't really know how these personas work, she patted his back. But maybe it's because you're not taking care of yourself properly. Maybe there was some truth to that. It was harder to summon his personas when he was tired, but he could still summon them. Now he couldn't even summon one. Maybe you're right, he said, trying to believe it himself. She smiled. Like I said, I'm always right. Come on, let's get out of here. They walked away, and though he couldn't shake that feeling that something was wrong. And we're gonna end it here for tonight because it is now 1 a.m. and I should probably start working on my fraud for trying to fanfic. So, see you in the morning. Yeah, I know. I gotta learn how to do my videos more early because it's almost 4 o'clock. So my mom is gonna be here soon, but I am going to finish this up today and get it done. Again, really need to start doing my videos earlier because doing it in the day is much easier. Like the lighting is much better because I don't have like a light or anything. Anyway, let's get on to chapter 5. Who is she? So this girl beheaded Mishima, Futaba asks, looking at the others like they'd lost their mind. So now this is more like the Phantom Thieves, like questioning who Marma is, as opposed to like, you know, seeing more of Marma and Akira's relationship. Again, y'all are gonna flame me in the fucking comment section, I know, but like I thought I was hot shit. And my ex was like hyping me the fuck up every time I posted a chapter, which honestly, love her for it, but like, girl, we both know that this is a bit questionable. Like, you could have like be honest with me. But anyway, they made a group that excluded Akira and told Futaba and Yusuke to meet with them. They were in Akira's room. Thankfully he wasn't here. Unfortunately, he was out with Marma. If you hear any commotion in the back, that's my grandma with dementia yelling at our dog. I don't know why she's yelling at the dog. Are you playing a prank on us? Yusuke asked. Cause it's not humorous. I know it sounds crazy, Ryuji said, but it's true. She pulled an effing sword out and killed him, or whatever it was. So Mishima is dead? Futaba asked. No, Ryuji said, looking at his phone. I texted him after school. He said he's fine. He said someone took him to the nurse's office because he fainted, which is total bullshit. He remembered nothing on set, probably from that spray. And then when it was time for class to start, Makoto said she was still a bit freaked out by the situation. Though we were hiding in a closet, I think she did something to the students. Oh yeah, I forgot to read that part, but yeah, they hid in a closet when all the butterflies like were coming out from the door. And basically everyone else forgot. Like, again, I probably would have taken, if I had to rewrite this, I would definitely take out some of that stuff. I would just have it where she just like kind of left and no one really knows where she went. It just becomes like a little like urban legend or something. But you know, 16-year-old me wanted to tie my loose ends. What can I say? So she couldn't have sprayed everyone without someone stopping her, Ryuji said. Maybe those butterflies can erase memories, Haru added. But wouldn't she have used it on Mishima if it's her butterflies who erased memories on question? So let's get this straight, Futaba said. A girl who Akira has never talked about comes to your school, kills a fake Mishima, wipes the memories of the real Mishima. Fake Mishima comes back to life and talks about a kid he killed because it was a Zunai. A girl chops his head off, and butterflies chase you guys and put everyone in your school into a trance. Pretty much, Ryuji said. Have you guys lost it? Futaba asked. I can vouch for them. Morgana leaped on the table. Something isn't right about that girl and Akira. Well, what's wrong with Akira? He's been acting weird lately. Weird? An asked. Early this morning he got up, took out a violin, and started playing outside, and then he vanished. So yeah, Morgana was awake during that entire thing. What do you mean vanish? Yeah, I don't know. I put what you mean vanish. I should have put what do you mean. I don't know why. I should have beta read this, but I don't have a beta reader, so. Ryuji asked. What else could I mean, dummy? Morgana said, annoyed. This fog took him, and he was gone. He came with this girl with face paint or something. Did you catch her name? Futaba asked. I think I heard him say Marma, Morgana said. He looked uncertain. But they were speaking quietly, so I could be wrong. That's the girl's name, Makoto said. Marma Odabale. Let me see if I can find her, Futaba said. Futaba quickly tapped away on her laptop, and when she was done, she looked frustrated. I'm not finding anyone with that name, Futaba said, looking frustrated. For real? For real, Futaba was going through her laptop. There are only 2 Odabales, and they don't have the name Marma. This mystery seems to deepen, Yusuke mutters. Maybe she's just taking a vacation here, Haru suggested. Can't be that, Makoto said. Why go to school on a vacation? Akira said they were friends too, so she must have grown up here or moved here. And if that's the case, she would show up, Futaba said. This shit's just getting weirder and weirder. Who the hell is this girl? We could probably get information if we had his phone, Futaba said. He forgot his phone, Morgana added. They all looked at each other uncomfortably. They wanted answers, but to go through Akira's phone, that'd be betraying his trust. He can't be serious, Yusuke said. I understand wanting answers, but this is betraying his trust and his privacy. I get where you're coming from, Yusuke, Yuriju said, looking stricken. But after what I saw that girl do today, I want to make sure she ain't gonna do anything to my best friend. I understand, Yusuke said. I should have put reluctantly. Well, now that you two are done, I've already gotten into his phone, Futaba said, smiling wickedly. Which is actually a thing in the game, again, for people who've never played Persona 5. Like, Homegirl literally hacks into their phones all the time. Actively. Constantly. In fact, that's how she even met the Phantom Thieves, by like hacking into their group chat and getting them to like steal her heart, because she was one of the again, that's what I mean when I say that like not all palaces mean that the person is a bad person. They might just have like a twisted view of the world, which is like an example for Futaba. Like, Futaba wasn't a bad person. She didn't do anything bad. She just kind of blamed herself for her parents, well, more specifically her mother, getting killed, even though it wasn't her fault at all. She couldn't have done anything to stop her mother from like offing herself, because yeah, that was again, I would have to get more into the lore of Persona 5 to explain everything, but we're just gonna have to keep it surface level for the purpose of this video. So anyway, they kind of hack into the phone. Futaba mentions how Akira hasn't talked to his parents at all since he's like been in Tokyo, which is kind of bizarre. And that is also something that a lot of fans found questionable about Akira's parents, or at least the protagonist's parents, is that like they don't call him what, not at all. They don't have any contact with him. Oop. They have no contact with Akira, even though like technically speaking, you should probably be keeping in contact with your son a bit more often, seeing how he's on probation and making sure that he's not like doing some crazy ass shit. But like, no, his parents, which is why it's like very popular within the fandom to say that his parents are like kind of abusive, and if not abusive, just like neglectful, because ain't no one hitting up their son. Even technically when it comes to Sojiro, it's very questionable, because Sojiro, I would think, is like his uncle or like a godfather or something, but it's like, no, he just knew his parents, and not in like a, oh, like they talk to each other on the weekends or they know each other very well. Like, no, like they worked together like years ago, and they just had his number and were like, hey man, I know that we haven't like talked to each other in like a good old decade, but my son just committed a crime and he's on probation and he can't stay in the city that we live in, so can we send him off to Tokyo so that he can finish off his probation? Like, they just gave their kid to some random ass nigga that they haven't seen in like years. This could have ended very badly if Sojiro was a different type of person. That's all I'm gonna say to that. This could have been completely different if Sojiro was a different kind of person. Like, that is a lot of trust to have in somebody. But hey, it's a different culture. Anyway, they find the contact. So they're going through text messages between Marma and Akira, which kind of like adds in a little bit about like their own personal relationship, and then also what might have happened before, you know, Akira's sister died. So the first one is January 2nd, and this would have been happening a year ago before the probation and everything else. At 8:46 p.m, Marma texts, good evening. Akira texts, hi, how did you get my number? Marma then says, I looked you up after you were done visiting MCA. They wanted someone around your age to convince you to join. Akira, I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. I understand it takes a lot. It's a lot to take in at once. I'm truly sorry. Well, what are you sorry for? Your pet. If I had gotten there sooner, he would probably still be alive. Okay, I'm gonna go check on my grandma very quickly because she's been yelling at that dog for too long. But I already been new. I shouldn't have gone and checked, but she was yelling way too much. Okay, so anyway, where was I? Yes, he had a pet dog. It died because of a monster attack. Akira, it's okay. Don't blame yourself. He was an old dog anyway. If you say so. Anyway, please consider the offer. Don't feel like you should be forced to join. Akira said that he'll keep it in mind, and they both say goodnight. And of course, everyone is asking, like, what the hell is MCA? How did his dog die? Types of questions like that. The next one happens on Valentine's Day at 9:36. I can't believe you fixed my wing. So I'm probably going to change this when I do the original show that I want to do that's kind of based off of this fanfic, because hey, how many fanfics do we have? Well, how many like actual like public works do we have out there that are based off of fan fiction? I just don't want anyone to say that oh my gosh, you base your fictional work off of a fanfic you wrote, like 50 Shades of Grey. Just take me out back and shoot me. Just put lead in me in the backyard. I couldn't bear to live with that. But yeah, I would probably change this where instead she has like maybe something bionic or just something to clip onto her like damaged wing to help with her flying, even though like technically they don't like fly as much as they used to. But anyway, yeah, Marma talks about like fixing her wing because he has healing abilities, and so he kind of uses powers to do that, and that kind of helps them with like becoming friends, and they start like getting together a bit more. Now, March 25th, this is still a bit on the iffish side. Marma, how do you feel? Akira, I don't know. I feel bad. Like, I understand what they do is wrong, but it still feels bad. This is his first time killing a monster. I don't know if I'll ever get used to this. If you want to quit, you can. I won't judge you for leaving. Neither will the others. Akira says that he'll sleep on it, and Marma says, all right. And they do have, like, therapists for NCA, but I kind of had it where he doesn't really get help because, like, in Japan, like, there is a bit of a stigma with mental illness, so I kind of had that be, like, a revolving thing around the fic where even though Akira, like, gets help for what everyone else thinks is schizophrenia, he is also, like, kind of treated badly because people think that he has schizophrenia, which he doesn't. I should really, like, it's not that I don't think schizophrenia is real, because I feel like people are going to misconstrue that. My grandpa had schizophrenia. I'm constantly worried that I'm going to get schizophrenia. That's always, because it's genetic, if you didn't know. Editor me, take that shit out. So next one, July 8th, again, previous year, 7:25 p.m. Akira says, I'm so sorry, Mama, I didn't mean to make you relive that. And then she's like, you had no right to do that, and a whole bunch of other stuff. This is basically based off of her being assaulted, and he ended up using a spell that had her relive those memories, because he kind of has very slight mind control abilities. It's one of those rare abilities, but even then, like he said in the previous chapter, not a whole lot of control on this. Like, again, I would probably rewrite this where, yeah, he would still have those abilities, but like I would probably lessen it a lot more to what it is right now. Like, I would definitely change a whole lot. 1 second. Yeah, nasal drip is fucking ass. Anyway, Akira talks about a summer festival coming soon and having that as a way to like make up for what happened, and everything seems to be okay. This is also where he mentions having a sister, and you know, the Phantom Thieves are kind of shocked by this because Akira never really mentions he never mentions his family in general, but even more so, he's never mentioned having a sister. I hope I'm not over explaining anything. Anyway, July 24th at 3:30 a.m. Marma, I just have to act. Oh, this was like just something stupid. I'm really sorry. I think I have like nasal drip or something, because I haven't been sick with anything. I just have like a runny nose like all the time. Like at nighttime it gets like really, really bad, and then throughout the day it's either gonna like come down altogether or it doesn't come out at all. And I don't really know why. I think I have nasal drip. But anyway, she's talking about like a situation that happened where Akira was like trying to have fun with her, and he ended up throwing something at her window and like fucking up her eye because he was trying to like serenade her. It was really stupid. I would probably take this out completely, but you know, I thought it was fun. August 3rd, and it was 7:30 a.m. Marma was saying, please, oh, this was just them having fun. It was really stupid. I'm not gonna reiterate that because I know exactly what I wrote in this, and it was fucking dumb as shit. September 30th, 8:47 p.m. I'm sorry, I didn't think they would react like that. Akira, don't worry, I was expecting this. I can't believe I'm crying over this. Like, it's so dumb. It's not dumb for you to cry. You have every right to be upset. I mean, my expectations were low, but fuck, they got lower. Why was I holding out hope that it would change? I'm sorry for dumping this on you. It's fine. Marma, you can talk longer if you want. Can you come over? I'll pack some clothes and stay the night. Just like give me 15 minutes, okay? And that was mainly because Akira wanted to like show to his parents, because again, like I said, people think that he has schizophrenia. He does not. It is legitimately just his powers acting up, and no one really knows that he has these powers. So he tried coming out to his parents. About having superpowers, and it didn't really go well. So it was just like, okay, they got angry, erased their memories, and we're just gonna keep it going. Now, December 4th is where everything basically happens, and it's all Marma talking to him throughout a few hours. 5:30 p.m. Marma, Akira, you called saying there's a monster. Did anyone get in with you? Where are you? I can't get into the bridge for some reason. Can you try getting me in? 7 p.m. I have to call for backup. We can't get into the bridge at all. Akira, please answer me. 9 p.m. We finally got in. Can you give a location, send a signal? I'm not sensing any monster. I'm coming back out and the others will search for you. 9:15 p.m. Akira, there's police. What happened? Where are you? There's blood and your violin is broken. Akira, please answer me. Is that your sister? Akira, what happened? At 12:46 a.m. Akira, I'm so sorry. Akira, she's gone. I failed. I couldn't save her. I killed her. No, you didn't. You tried to save her. I'm sure of it. I'm being accused of murdering her. And of course, everyone is like, you know, reading these texts and are just like, whoa, what the hell? And then December 8th, 4:30 p.m. A bit of good news for once. I'm not being accused of murdering my sister. Mara, that's good news. How'd they figure that out? Fingerprints didn't match mine on the violin or knife. Well, that's good. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over? If you can, I want to add something in person. I'll be there. January 1st, and this is where they have their little falling out. At 11:34 a.m. I could strangle you. I just think about you makes me want to blow your brains out. After everything I've done for you, this is the shit you pulled. I really thought you were different. For once, someone wasn't calling me a bitch. Someone finally wasn't being mean to me. I felt like you understood, and you were so sweet, and I let my guard down with you. Took down my wall, told you my problems, and then you used them against me. To think I was actually starting to think we were, you know what? Forget it. Whatever this was, it's over. I don't want to hear from you again. I don't want to see you again. Goodbye, Akira. And Akira finally responds to saying goodbye, Marama, and that's kind of where everything stops, and they do not talk to each other for a good year, going on 2 years. Now, what could have possibly happened to get that reaction? Yusuke pondered. She seemed like she really cared about him, and now she just wants to kill him. Well, she was talking to herself on the roof. I wouldn't be shocked if Ryuji did a circle around his temple and whistled. Not completely there. You think she has a palace, Morgana asked. So then they open up the MetaNav. Again, for the people who don't know anything, to get into a palace, they use this app on their phones called the MetaNav, where they put in the keywords, and then the keywords can help them getting into the palace. But they also need to know what the physical location is for the palace. So again, if the person views, like, again, I'm going to use the gym teacher because that's the one that I've been using for forever. He views his palace as the gym. Like, the gym is like his kingdom, where he like reigns supreme as a king. So you would have to go to the gym, activate the MetaNav, and then you'll basically be able to go into the palace and do whatever you got to do. And that's basically just how it works. But anyway, no candidate found, which means that she doesn't have a palace or any like warped perception about herself or society as a whole. So she doesn't have a palace. But that still doesn't make her any less dangerous. Yusuke looked at the messages. What if she was hired by Shido? What are you trying to say, Inari? That's a nickname that Futaba calls Yusuke all the time because of his fox mask when he like transforms. This is a completely hypothetical, but maybe Shido hired her. I mean, she was able to kill someone at your school and no one noticed. She could be using her past to cure to try and kill him. Akechi did something similar. Like I said previously, Akechi did try to like kill him. That, Makoto paused. Now that she thought about it more, it didn't seem too far-fetched. Actually makes sense. You'd think she would kill a hero on acts? It could be a possibility, Haru said. Guys, Yusuke looked tense. She's out with Akira right now. The whole room grew silent. What if they just said was true and then Akira was in serious trouble? Again, I do notice that was my previous writing where I am like overly analyze, like I'm giving way too much exposition for things that like people can add up on their own. Morgana, do you know what where they're going on acts? She said, I want to make sure you're not lying to me, but I don't know what she meant by that, Morgana said. Did Akira tell her about the metaverse, Yusuke asked? If they're in mementos, then Akira is in serious trouble. Makoto grabbed her bag. We need to. A white butterfly was flaring in front of her. Nobody moved. How long was it there? Another thing, she can like spy through like her butterflies. So her butterflies can kind of be used as like a way to spy on people. I kind of understand where people get the whole like, oh, OC, X canon, but it's fun. I won't lie. I like reading an OC X canon fic because it is always so fun to see like the lore that people will come up with, even if it like changes the canon. So anyway, the butterfly like basically grabs her, like there's a swarm of butterflies and they kind of like grab their phones and kind of like messes them up. Morgana was trying to catch them and ends up falling into a box. In the cluster of butterflies, they could see them opening the window and taking Futaba's laptop and Akira's phone. Hey, that's mine, Futaba yelled, trying to grab her laptop. The butterflies started to fly away, dropping on Yusuke, Makoto, and Haru, because they were all like basically floating them up. I can't believe we just got overpowered by butterflies. Futaba got up from the ground. And they stole my laptop. Do you think she can hear through them? Haru went over to help Morgana. Maybe, Makoto said. But how much did she hear? Guys, Haru looked inside the box Morgana was in. You might want to see this. They walked towards the boxes. Inside were 2 violin cases, a blue and white bow with red splatters, and a pill bottle. Clozapine. I hope that's how I pronounce it. Anne read the bottle with a confused look. What's that for? Looking it up, Futaba pulled out her phone and started typing away. It's a medication usually used for schizophrenia. He never told me he had that, Ryuji said. And it looks like he hasn't taken these in a while. Makoto examined the bottle. They're also expired. Has he not been taking these at all? I've never seen him take anything, Morgana said. Sojiro, Futaba yelled. They could hear hurried footsteps running up the stairs. And of course, he asks what's going on, and she hands the pill bottle to Sojiro. Have you seen Akira take these before? He turned the bottle over and looked. I've never seen the kid take anything. His parents didn't tell me anything either. What's this for anyway? And Makoto answers it's schizophrenia, and a shocked look appeared on Sojiro's face. He also says that he hasn't seen them in a while and decides to call Takemi. Again, for people who don't know anything, Takemi is basically like your confidant who helps you with getting like medication and medicines to help you with like fighting in the metaverse. She's a bit questionably ethical. Like, she's definitely going against the Hippocratic Oath by testing out medication and drugs on a minor. I am not being hyperbolic. That she does exactly that, testing drugs on a minor. But we're gonna just leave it there for now. I'll see if she knows anything about this. He went back downstairs and they all looked at each other. Well, wasn't Akira taking his medicine? And basically just all that type of thing. I got a few comments, and this is from one person. I just found this fic and I'm completely hooked already. I'm so hyped for chapter 6. And okay, oh, they were talking about like a face claim, because yeah, that's so fandom. Like a celebrity that looks like her, please answer, it's for science. They were really interested in Marma. I hope that one day, if this commenter ever gets to see the original show, they can be like, I know that reference, I know who you are, I read your fic when I was like however years old. And I said, sorry for the late response. I don't get notified about the email, about comments sometimes, which I still don't. So the person I think she looks the most like is, I picked Tessa. I picked Tessa because I was obsessed with her back then in 2020. I thought she was like so fucking hot. That was like baby lesbianism right there. I think Tessa Thompson, but with like darker skin and coiler hair. And that's like kind of where I kept it. I think I'll probably change what she looks like a lot more now. So chapter 6, hanging out. I put a trigger warning for rape, more specifically like mentions of rape. What was taking them so long? She was in the alleyway by the sushi place Akira chose. She was freezing. They should be here already. Did they get distracted? Again, the whole butterfly thing. If I had to like rewrite this, definitely would take all this shit out. Anyway, she basically like kind of hides everything and then goes back because Akira was the one who asked her to get his cell phone because he realized he forgot it. So they all are basically, they're eating sushi, they're getting close together, and she wants to talk some more about like the Phantom Thieves. So after I fight, I did attempt a few more times, but I realized it was pointless because I can't decapitate myself. And this is mostly taking place in Marima's POV. Zunai aren't easy to kill. You can put a bullet through their head, slit their throat, rip their heart out. Again, I don't know why I was so obsessed with like writing sentences like this when I could literally just use like commas and stuff like that. Like, I put every single sentence as like just putting a period when I really could have just used like a comma and made it a lot simpler. But I guess I was like trying to like, because I was younger then, and I think I was trying to like do it like the academic way where it's like you try to like get as many sentences in, even if it's like really awkward. She caught herself. Mia. I'm sorry for leaving you. You were so vulnerable and I was your only line of support. I shouldn't have left. Don't blame yourself. I shouldn't have brought up a mill or the massacre. I know that those are touchy subjects. I shouldn't have. She felt a finger on her lips. She felt her heart skip a beat. Don't worry about it. Akira took his finger off her lips. Can I continue? She nodded. So after that, my parents put me in a psych ward for the summer. Psych ward, she almost yelled, and a few people stared. Then my grandparents died. My relationship with my parents got worse. Bullying at school got worse. Basically everything got worse. You already know about my probation. Parents sent me here to live with Sojiro. So is Sojiro your uncle? I've been wondering because he doesn't look similar to your mom or dad. He's not my uncle, godfather, family friend. And basically it's like, oh, he's just like a complete stranger. Which, again, like I called out earlier, this is something that the fandom has like always kind of questioned. And like, technically speaking, his parents never like met Sojiro or like knew where Akira was going to like stay. Even Akira in the game is like kind of shocked that he has to stay up in a basement. He doesn't make a fuss about it because, you know, he gotta live somewhere, but like he definitely like questions it a little bit, like, I'm living in a fucking attic on top of a cafe. Like, what the fuck? And if you see like the concept art for where he originally lived, it's like that must have been a crazy ass adjustment, because this is like the concept art of like what his house looked like. A lot of people everyone kind of suspects that he might have lived in like Kyoto, because it is said that he lives in a more country area, but not country. So people commonly say that he might have come from Kyoto, which is like pretty close to Japan. I mean, Tokyo. But like there's no like canon as to what city specifically he came from. I came here, Sojiro was a bit mean, but he warmed up to me, Akira brattled on. My records got leaked, so rumors started to spread. I got this strange app that wouldn't delete and took me and Ryuji to our gym teacher's palace. Then we met on and we changed his heart. Then we kind of keep on going with all the other ones, like Madarame, an artist who was like stealing his like students' artwork and using it as his own. We also had Kaneshiro, who was like a mafia boss. Listen, this game gets fucking crazy. Futaba, Okumura, which actually got them into some hot water because people think that they fucking killed the guy, which they didn't. Again, I would have to get into the lore, and then things get kind of creepy there. So right now, anyway, he starts talking about Akechi, and like we do see throughout the game that Akira has like a bit of a soft spot for Akechi, or at the very least he cares about Akechi more than I would say other characters do. And Marma is pretty pissed off because like Akechi, technically speaking, was going to kill Akira. It wasn't even like he killed him. He is fully confident that he killed this man and is probably going to try and kill this man. He constantly talks about doing that, even though in a sense they are like very close to being like, they're equals. Like there's a lot of video essays about the relationship between Akechi and Akira. I could make an entire video about their relationship too. I have an entire fan novel about those two. I can look for it by the end of this video, but I'm a very big Goro Akechi x Akira shipper. Love those motherfuckers. And okay, so this is editing me, and I completely forgot about doing that. Like completely forgot about that. So let me go and get it for you, and I have one more thing that you guys are gonna like. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's like a lot of like controversial opinions about like publishing like, you know, fan fiction, but I have noticed that when it comes to like from Japan or China or Korea, like it's a bit legally questionable, but like they don't go as hard as like Western media. Like I've always seen fan novels for like more, like I prefer to just buy it for Western media because I already know that Western media, it already gets on your ass for like publishing fan fiction on like AO3. But like, you know, there's a whole thing when it comes to like, you know, you have fanzines, which I have a lot of. Like you have fanzines, indojins, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's like you're in a very questionable place when it comes to like, you know, fan novels. But this is the fan novel that I have. It's called Happy End. It takes place in Persona 5 Royal. I can't go too much into that in like this little editing video, but this is if Akira picked the happy end, and like as you can see we have all this other stuff, and it's a very, very, very long. I might not show who the person, I don't know, it can be very questionable, but you know, I think it's like sweet. And another thing I have is this, and I know some of you might think to yourself, well, what is this? You know exactly what this is. You know exactly. Yeah, like I said, I am a nerd. Anyway, Marma just like makes a joke about certain stuff. It's really stupid. I don't really know why I put that in. Probably would take that out if I had to like rewrite it. And he talked about her dad because he does know Marma's parents. I'm gonna also keep a lot of this out. And she decides to like bring some sushi for Morgana because, again, she thinks that he's a normal fucking cat. She does not realize that, oh, this is a not normal cat. So, poor girl, she's in for something. I would probably take this out about her not knowing what an arcade is because, like, technically speaking, she travels across dimensions. She's probably been to an arcade a few times before. I think I just wanted to make it seem like more special than it already is. And I kind of fucked up a little bit, I won't even lie. So, gonna just skip through a vast majority of this stuff. And yeah, all of this is just, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, this is the part where I actually do kind of want to talk about because it actually gives a bit more understanding to like how they are as like friends. I'm starting to feel this is starting to feel more like a date than a hangout. Oh really? Akira smiled mischievously. The night had been fun. She liked meeting some of Akira's other friends, even if they were a bit weird. Like, these are all like confidants and friends that you make throughout the game, so this isn't like random ass characters that I made. Like, these are actual characters that the protagonist has a relationship with, and that kind of help him out throughout the game. They were in the sky tower. It was pretty. All the glistening lights, a perfect way to end the night. And you know, she makes a joke where it's like, are you trying to like confess your love? Of course not. He tried to play it cool while stuttering. I would confess way more dramatically. How exactly would you do it? That's a secret. And then she just calls him like a stupid nickname. And this really is cringy. It really is fucking cringy. Like, I am exposing myself for real, for real. Don't beat yourself up over something like this. I really care about you though. That's what Akira says. And she did feel like this was one of the more happier moments of her life, being like around him and stuff. But after a while, she starts to get like very anxious about it as he like puts her hand, he brings his hand closer to her, and she's like, but this is reality, and reality is disappointing, especially when you thought you were getting better at coping with it. When you think you can handle a simple squeeze on your waist, a kiss from a guy that you like, but you can't be. You still remember being grabbed by the waist, kicked and screaming while being held down, but being too weak to stop it. The cold look in their eyes when they did the unspeakable. She had blacked out. She heard people talking. A security guard came towards her. Akira was on the ground. She had twisted his arm into a weird angle. I'm so sorry is all that she could say. The security guard came and Akira explained that she was easily triggered by touch. That it was his fault for forgetting that. The security guard seemed to understand and lectured Akira about it. And he had offered to call an ambulance, but Akira refused and we left. We'll have to get a taxi since the train should have stopped. She nodded her head, but she couldn't let go of what she'd done. And again, the butterfly thing, which I kind of wish I had like stopped getting into that. Also, this is when I like kind of started my first job, so I was like busy with work and also doing this. I put trigger warnings for gore because it was like really bad gore. Was it? Maybe. I honestly don't remember because I'm rereading this, but chapter 7, good times and bad times. And this is him where he fell asleep in the car, and he basically has like this dream of Akira, with Marma, and they're in like some valley and they're sitting on a little picnic blanket. It's like all romantic and fun until all of a sudden the sky turns dark with flashes of red lightning and his sister appears. And he asks what Marma what's going on and sees that her body is like gone and that she is like a ghostly pale white, and it looks as if he's basically like sucked the life out of her. In the middle of the field and she was playing with a violin. All the keys were off. It didn't sound like the slow and soft melody that played for Yua. It was distorted and eerie. He walked down the hill and noticed more corpses. All of his friends, people that he cares about, and they were all kind of like shot in different ways. And it's basically him realizing that he's more and more becoming a monster. And then he wakes up as they like get to the LeBlanc. And it was weird because Sojiro is still there. Because normally Sojiro like leaves the cafe at about like 8-9ish o'clock. And he's kind of finding it weird, like, hey, why the hell are you here? It's almost 1 a.m. As they open the door, they see let me just continue reading. Like, why am I trying to like explain this? But anyway, they see like a few cars there, and it's like kind of questionable, like, why is there so many cars here? And as they make it in, they see not just Futaba and Sojiro, but also, you know, the doctor and Kawakami, which is his teacher. I'm not gonna get too much into the teacher relationship in Persona 5 because it's, don't ask a Persona fan about Kawakami in Persona 5. We don't talk about her at all. But that's basically his school teacher who's there as well, looking uncomfortable. I know that it's late, but I think this is overkill. He was trying to lighten the mood. Too bad it didn't work. Everyone seemed to get more upset. Marma gave him a small laugh, but it didn't really seem to help. Kid, this is no time to be making jokes, Sojiro said. This is serious. Sojiro, thank you, but we'll be able to handle this, his mother said as she turned her attention to him. What the hell are you thinking? Not taking your meds for months. Yeah, his mother and dad are there. I forgot to mention. Well, I don't really need them, he muttered. Not this again, his father said, trying to hide his frustration. We've been over this. You need them. I haven't taken my meds in almost a year, and I didn't have any sort of breakdown, he retorted, feeling a bit more confident. So maybe I don't need them. Akira, we don't have time for this discussion, his dad said. Thankfully, Sojiro knows a doctor, and she decided to get you some new meds. I can't believe you're not taking your medication for 8 months. Tamaki handed me the pill bottle. Please start taking these and don't try to stop taking them. And of course she's here, his mother muttered. And, you know, she calls her out by her name, no honorifics or anything, she just doesn't care. And of course the mother calls her out for this as well, like, it's so like disrespectful. And like Marma makes like a little kick-ass comment to that, and it's a whole bunch of other things. Honestly, Akira, I wish that you never made friends with her. I'm sure she's the one who told you to do this. And then Marma's like, don't try and blame me. Akira was the one who decided to stop taking them, and I don't control him. Actually, it's the opposite. And then Akira's kind of like, you know, calm down, because they're both like kind of getting heated up about it. You know, he only became defiant when he started hanging out with you, his mother called out. And you want to know, I find this kind of stupid. Like, I feel like I could have written this like way better, so I'm not gonna get too into that. But she's basically like calling him out for like how she in a sense manipulates her son into like doing whatever like she wants him to do, and it's not supposed to be like that. So again, I kind of kept both the wife and husband, like his parents' names, being kind of identical to each other. They're just like the female and male version of like the same fucking name. I shouldn't really know why I put the whole victim blaming thing, because like I don't know why his parents would know about her being like assaulted when she was like younger. That didn't make sense for me to put either. But anyway, I'm ready to go, his mother huffed. Akira, please take your medicine now, and me and your dad can leave. And he simply says no. Akira, just take the medicine, his dad said. No, he yelled. I don't think I need them. I think we should just go to a psychologist again and get a different diagnosis. Why can't you just listen, his father said. Your schizophrenia is the reason you're living here in the first place. Then Akira yells that he lied. I didn't imagine a monster. You guys are A guy was trying to assault a woman and I got wrongly accused. I knew if I used my schizophrenia so that I didn't get put in juvie. So then if you weren't imagining it, then why get involved? Hirata, his father, asked. She was being assaulted. You know what could have happened if I didn't get involved? You wouldn't be on probation, his mother retorted. I would take probation over having to live my life knowing that a woman got assaulted and I didn't do anything. You always cause trouble, his mother yelled. You couldn't turn away, couldn't listen. Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't be perfect. I'm sorry that I have morals. I'm sorry that I wasn't normal. And it's stuff like this that really makes me wish. Hirata shut her mouth. Wish what, Mom? He said, his anger at a boiling point. He could feel this power coursing through his body and around the room. He honestly wanted to hear what his mother had to say. That I was normal, got better grades, didn't cause so much trouble for you. What? What could it possibly be? Why couldn't you die instead of Yua? Silence filled the room, and all his anger fizzled out. Everything slowed, and he knew that he wasn't his parents' favorite. It was obvious, but hearing his own mother wishing he was dead hit a bit harder than he expected. Anyway, Marma basically like slams his mother's head down on like a table and like really like messes up her head, like whole ass bleeding. And Marma gets very upset because it's like, how could you say such a thing with the situation he was in and wish that he had been killed? Like, you should be happy that he's still alive and stuff like that. But of course his parents really aren't like that, so it's a whole other thing. His mother got up, his father is studying him, and Marma like makes a little comment about like, you know, if you stayed in your place this wouldn't have happened. I mean, with the things you said, you had it coming. His mother kind of lunges for her, and you know, they kind of are able to keep them apart. I don't know why I kind of had Kawakami there. She was mainly there to just drop off homework, and then she ended up getting roped in because his parents were asking her questions about how he was doing in school and stuff like that. But it was a whole other thing. Anyway, Futaba asks if he's going to be alright, and he says that he's going to be fine. So they both kind of looked at each other skeptically, Futaba and Sojiro, and they kind of walk out. Well, I'm locking the place up. If you need me, call me. And don't do anything inappropriate. Of course not. And then Marma hands back to Futaba her laptop, and of course Futaba is like not really believing it. And everything is like kind of going back to normal, but he's really upset about it. And Marma tries to like basically like cheer him up. Now, chapter 8, Friendful or Maybe More. A piano was the first thing he heard, and then the same voices singing. He was in the Velvet Room. Igor wanted to talk to him, probably about Cheetah. Another thing to add in for people who don't know anything about Persona 5. The Velvet Room is this kind of like space between worlds where Kira is like the only one who has access to it. Like none of the other Phantom Thieves really know about the Velvet Room. And this is where he kind of gets the ability to create like different personas. Like he fuses like two personas together to make a more powerful one. And the Velvet Room is like very important to like the plot of Persona 5. In fact, the Velvet Room is like kind of consistent throughout the entire Persona series, and it changes depending on how the protagonist like sees the world or how they've basically been going through things. I forgot how it looks in Persona 3. I think it's more of like a waiting room or like a lounge in Persona 3. In Persona 4, it's more like a party room or a club. And in Persona 5, it's more like a prison, and the protagonist is kind of treated like a prisoner because that's how he's being treated in like the real world. So it's like a personification of like how the protagonist is viewing themselves and like the world around him. And for Akira, in game and also in this fanfic, viewing himself as like a prisoner in his own like world. Anyway, Igor like introduces himself. He's like, well, welcome, Trickster, how are you? While he can't use his persona, Marma came back after 2 years of nothing. His mom wants him dead, and the monster wants him to join her. He's considered dead. I'm doing pretty good, he said. Your rebellious spirit is dying, Igor said calmly. Your past is coming back to haunt you, causing your spirit to die. Will you allow your friends to help, or will you go on alone? Only you can decide. What do you mean my spirit is dying? You're going dark. A persona only manifests when you break from the chains of society, the chains that bind you. So I'm being bound by society again. Igor shook his head solemnly. No, It is something deeper, something darker. You are not being binded by the chains of society. You are being bounded by something darker, something monstrous. The turning. This couldn't be happening. He still needs to fight Shido, claim his innocence. He can't be turning now. What can I do to stop it? He tried to sound calm, but he was trembling. You can't do it alone, Igor said. You must rely on the help of your friends. No, he couldn't do that. His friends had no idea about monsters, or Zunai, supernaturals, different dimensions. Shit, they thought that his fast healing was from the metaverse. They didn't know he didn't actually need healing. His body did it naturally, before he could even feel the pain. That is until now. To tell them this before going against Shido would be absurd. They'd be too stressed out and worried that he'd turn in the middle of a battle. He couldn't even tell Marma. Not that she would understand, but she would understand more than anyone. But Marma would put him in a holding cell for who knows how long until NCA found him safe. And that could make him miss the deadline, and their plans would be ruined either way. There was no winning. There has to be another way, he yelled. Quiet down. Caroline whacked the baton again. Also, there are these two twins, Caroline. Damn, I forgot the other twins' name. Oh, Justine. Caroline and Justine are the two, like, little prison wardens who kind of, like, keep him in check. But they're more important for later on when it comes to, like, the Velvet Room. Again, can't go too much into the lore without making this video, like, 8 hours long. Like, summarizing the whole lore of Persona 5, just Persona 5 in and of itself, would take a very long time. But anyway, I'm sorry, Trickster, Igor said sadly. But this is the only solution I see. The game has changed severely. I hope we speak again with better news. Goodbye. Igor waited, and then everything went black. He woke up on a couch. He was in his room. Pictures of his family on a nearby wall. The TV was static, being the only thing on. He tried turning it off, but it kept turning back on. A violin started playing, slow and creepy. It was a lullaby that he made, but slower. And there were words now. I'm not going to really say the words. A baby started crying. He got up from the couch and went to investigate. As he looked at the photos, he noticed that any pictures of him, his face was blurred. In every photo, it was someone had taken an eraser and erased his face. He kept walking up the stairs. The crying was coming from Yua's room. He opened the door and saw it turn to a nursery. The song was getting louder, and so was the crying. He covered his ears. He peeked into the crib, and it was just a black void. Endless. He leaned in closer, and then hands grabbed him and dragged him in. And then he woke up again, feeling very terrified. Marma is there. What's going on? He said aloud. His space heater was still on, so it shouldn't be cold like this. He grabbed his glasses as he put them on, and he heard a cracking sound. He looked at the windowsill and saw ice had formed. He got up and the floor was freezing. He looked down and noticed that every step he took made ice. So technically speaking, all Zunai have like some type of elemental power. You see what I mean? I kind of made him a bit too overpowered in regards to it. So I will definitely be changing that in like my own original series. But like, yeah, it's mainly, I would more keep the elemental part of it. So like 4 key elements. He's very good when it comes to fire, but in comparison to ice, very, very weak. So it is abnormal that he's like, you know, using his ice powers again without using his violin. And his hands are getting darker, his nails sharper, and there was more ice forming around the walls. And now he was starting to get a little more panic. The gang had met up in LeBlanc. They wanted to talk to Akira about Marma, but he was asleep. And Marma was sleeping right next to him while they talked about what Futaba found. You're joking, right? Yuji asked. There's no way they actually would say something like that to their son. Unfortunately, they did, Sojiro said, looking at his newspaper. I was shocked to see Harada say something like that. Tears falling from his own mother must have hurt him. His mother is a bitch, Ryuji yelled. Ryuji, Makoto, and An hissed. Don't Ryuji me, it's true. You have to be a real piece of shit to wish that your kid is dead. He does have a point, Haru said quietly. Let's move away from that and talk about the laptop stealer, Futaba said. She already said she took it by accident, Sojiro said. I'm telling you, she stole it, Futaba yelled. Sojiro just rolled his eyes as he returned to his paper. So what info did you get on Marma, Ryuji asked. Futaba opened up a folder on a notebook. Now, I didn't find much on Marma. It's as if that girl doesn't exist. But when I looked at the word Zunai, I found like some interesting posts on a forum about supernatural occurrences. I translated it into my notebook. You can read it for yourself. Yeah, this was like a whole thing. It was kind of stupid for me to like have it there, but it was stupid. I'm not like gonna read it, but basically a guy talked about how he was basically like saw something happen, and then he was like, these two kids who are obviously supposed to be Akira and Marma came in and basically asked him to like keep it a secret. Anyway, this just sounds like a delusional person ranting is what Yusuke said. That's not it. Futaba took out her laptop and she turned it around to show a picture of Akira. Look at these pictures and videos. And, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff. And all these, like, photos of them in different places. Well, this is weird. Where were they able to take these pictures? Again, I feel like this was not necessary for me to have. Like, yeah, on the one hand, I kind of liked having, like, the fan of these trying to figure out what exactly what exactly Marma and Akira were up to, but at the same time, it's like, it was questionable of me to do. But they're all kind of questioning what's going on. Like, first Mishima gets killed, then Akira is murdering his sister, Marma attacked them with butterflies, and what's next? Akira what? Sojiro snapped his head up. We're talking about a game, is what Makoto said quickly. Sure you are, Sojiro said, not believing them. They're just mirrors. It's super cold. On was burrowing further into her jacket. The others started to realize it was starting to get colder. They could even see their breath. The heat is working, Sojiro said, shaking his head in confusion. Doesn't make any sense. But guys, look at this. The walls had ice on them. More starting to appear. It's starting to get colder and colder as ice formed around them. They kind of blame Marma for this, and then they hear a violin playing. As they go up closer and closer, Akira is kind of like questioning it, like, oh, well, morning, did you sleep well? Asking a whole bunch of other questions. And the gang kind of confronts him about how Marma killed Mishima, and he's like, oh, you guys are like playing like a joke, that's really funny, but like that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, no dude, we're being serious, like she cut his head off. And you know why I find this ridiculous? Akira crossed his arms, looking really pissed off. I saw Mishima yesterday. He was completely fine. She was attacking us with butterflies too, on added. And now I'm worried about you guys. Maybe this Shido thing is starting to get to you. Nothing is getting to us, Makoto stepped in. We know what we saw. We saw her kill someone or something, and then she attacked us. You can't lie and say that she's docile either. Futaba told us that she gave your mom a concussion. Listen, even if you guys did see what you said you saw, it's best to stop looking now. Stares and asks like Akira if she can get her some aspirin, and he's like, alright, I'll get you something, and he decides to like leave. And then she stares at them all. So, she took a sip of coffee. What did you see yesterday? So you know, Yusuke asked. I'm not dumb, art boy. Marma stared at them harder. You make it so obvious it hurts. At least make it a bit more believable. With how obvious you are, I'm surprised you weren't caught ages ago. So Akira told you our identities? Makoto questioned. No, he kept that a secret, but it's painfully obvious that you know about him being the leader. Marma took another sip. I mean, maybe two delinquents hanging out isn't too suspicious, but a model hanging out with them is strange. An art student from a different school whose master just got confessed to plagiarism, a bit bizarre. The student council president, even more bizarre. A girl who's never gone to school since elementary, suspicious. And a rich girl. Well, that's a cherry on top. And what, you want a medal? Ryuji said. Ryuji is a very more casual talker, like definitely talks like a southerner in a sense. You ain't the first one to find out. I know, she smiled wickedly. No need to worry about your secret being leaked. My lips are sealed, she said, making a zip motion with her fingers. So what do you want? On asked. Marma went inside her bag and the gang tensed. And she brings out, I don't know why she would like bring out papers. I think it's mostly because I kind of made it as like a formality thing where she just kind of like knows that they're Akira's friends, and because she knows that that's Akira's friend, she's like trying to like, you know, be nice about it and not like just like be, oh, I'm just gonna like outright erase all your memories. Like, no, I'll just like have you consent to having your memories erased, which most people aren't really going to do, but hey, why not? And of course they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. And she's like, okay then, I guess it's whatever. Another thing that happened is that their old mentor, just like this random guy, I'll probably keep him. Oh, I closed it out. Okay, got it again. So Akira tells her that their old why am I losing my train of thought? Anyway, that their old leader is like available, like he's out there wanting to talk to them. So after they go down, they decide to open up the meta-nav and make sure that like she's not there. So they open up the meta-nav and they don't say her name yet. They say, well, Yusuke says, Akira sure has one violent friend. And then it says candidate found. They look at the phone and there's Akira's name. But that doesn't make sense. Akira was their leader. Him having a palace, that had to be a mistake. What the hell? Another beep. They had a name and what the distortion looked like. Now they just needed a location. Why would Akira have a palace? Makoto said. Well, I had a palace, Futaba said. It doesn't seem too unlikely. But what caused this? Akira hasn't done anything bad. Maybe it's just a guilt? What kind of guilt would make his distortion hell? Who knows, Morgana said. But whatever it is, we need to get in there quick and finish it fast. This palace could be affecting his persona, and we have to face off against Shido, then we need to get this done. They all nodded in agreement. Now what is this location, Haru pondered. Akira is everywhere, Ryuji said. It's impossible to pinpoint one. Destination found. Would you like to begin navigation? Well, Futaba said, that's easier than expected. Should we go in today? I think I was trying to like rush through it and get it done even quicker than I'm supposed to, but I kind of just wanted to like get into like the whole thing. And as things like finish up, you'll see that I really just wanted to like fast track into like doing Persona to do like the palace thing, and I'll get into more about what the palace was supposed to be and like what the overarching things were going to happen. Anyway, they both agreed to like get it done fast. So now we get Goro's point of view. Now Goro was drowning in paperwork, literally drowning. If even one more file he had was stacked, he would be a goner. Shido was being paranoid. With the election so close, he was sending more and more cases. It was starting to get ridiculous. How many people would he have to give us psychotic breakdowns? That was a whole thing throughout the game of Persona 5, that people across Japan were having like these psychotic breakdowns. A few files, and like Akechi is like the cause for these psychotic breakdowns. And the Phantom Thieves kind of got lumped into it by accident. They weren't causing psychotic breakdowns, but because of like Goro and like all the interlapping, that's what kind of made people assume, oh, the Phantom Thieves were causing the psychotic breakdowns as well, when that wasn't really the case. A few files later, and he saw Akira's file. It must have been a mistake. Akira's mugshot stared at him. He couldn't say he was a bit guilty. Akira actually seemed like to treat him like a friend, but then that was his own mistake. No one told him to befriend him. He chose to, and he paid the price. At least that's what he told himself. Just 3 more weeks, and I'll get my revenge. He continued to go through the file, and Akira was still on his mind. What if it was a mistake? This is Akechi's persona, Loki. What if he didn't actually kill him? Here's the thing, Akechi has the same ability as Joker, where he can hold more than one persona, and in fact he kind of like switches between like one persona and like makes people think that that's his persona when it's actually not that. That was impossible. He killed a cop. He killed Akira. He saw his life leave his eyes. He was dead. He went on the meta-nav. It was silly, he knew this, but for his sanity, Akira Kurusu, candidate found. He dropped his phone in shock. Akira was alive, and he had a palace. It started off with a chuckle, then a laugh, and then it became uncontrollable laughter. How stupid of him to believe that Akira could be friends. They were never friends, not even rivals. They were enemies. How could he let emotions cloud his judgment? Akira and him may be similar, but they weren't the same. You sly dog, Akechi strained at himself. Well, this game of cat and mouse will be over once and for all. Get ready, Kurusu. Your time is near, and it's ended. Akira went back to his paperwork, completely unaware of the butterfly in his room. Now, the next chapter is going to obviously be about Akira's palace. I don't know. If y'all really do want me to continue this, maybe I'll get back on my bullshit. I won't rewrite the entire thing, but I would probably continue to do chapters because, like, this is so nostalgic for me. It's also, like, incredibly cringy. Like, if I were to read my other fanfic that I'm currently working on, which is Fraud Fraterna, and, like, if I read it, I think I would feel much better about it. Maybe not the 5 chapters that I wrote for it, because the 5 beginner chapters could have definitely needed, like, a rework. But if I were to talk about, like, all this stuff in comparison, then, like, yeah, I think I did a better job with writing. Anyway, chapter 9, Welcome to Akira's Inferno. So, another thing to add, when I was 16 years old and writing this fanfic, I had a obsession with Dante's Inferno. And that's kind of what I based Akira's power. Listen, it was very popular whenever you look up, like, this tag on AO3 for the Persona 5 protagonist has a palace. And it was commonly referred to, like, it's either, like, Dante's Inferno, or, like, it was very common. It was either, like, hell, or school, or a prison. Like, it was very common to have, like, his palace being revolved around that, because, like, he's always been, like, shown, Akira, as a character to always be about, like, imprisonment and feeling trapped. Hell, there's an entire song in the game called Beneath the Mask. It's, like, one of the most popular songs for the game. You've probably even heard the instrumental for the song, because a lot of people, like, use the instrumental for, like, YouTube videos, because it's, like, a very jazzy, like, it's called cyber jazz, like, a very jazzy and cool beat. I'm a shapeshifter. Like, that's, like, the song that's commonly referred to. And Beneath the Mask is basically a song referring to, like, the protagonist and how he feels. It's like, I'm a shapeshifter. What else should I be? By hiding both face and mask. For, like, it's very, like, lyrics that show, like, he's very much hiding beneath a mask, not just for the public, not just for his friends, but even to the point for himself. And it does make him a very interesting character. And, like, not a whole lot of people in the fandom, I feel like, yes, but more for, like, the incel dude bros that like Persona 5, they definitely just see the guy as, like, a chick magnet. But, like, the fandom that, like, cares about, like, literacy and, like, the inner story that's being told, recognize that, like, the guy has, like, mental issues. She was sitting in her apartment and she was exhausted. Another monster someone had to be taken to the hospital. The cops had looked at her as if she was a suspect. She couldn't blame them. She was covered in blood, and it's not like she could hurt herself and make it look like self-defense. The cops would then wonder why her blood was gray and not red, and hopefully MCA will take care of it. She breathed deeply, the oxygen mask on her face giving her relief. Her asthma was getting worse. The same one for every other part of her. Her migraines, fainting spells. She was even getting seizures again. It was winter now here, and living in the most populated city, she would definitely need to stay inside. It was tiring to live like this. She'd give anything to just live normally, not having to worry about the common cold considered to her grave. There was this ringing coming from the living room. She should have ignored it if it wasn't for the ringtone being from the CEO. She got up, taking the machine with her. Her living room was a mess. She was still unpacking her stuff, and I was trying to fix the technology so it wasn't old-fashioned. The only thing that she was able to get done was a Halo table. Again, more sci-fi technology, because her dimension was more, technically speaking, technologically advanced than Akira's. Like, she does live in the future technically, and she does kind of make the joke that, like, oh my god, like, you're so much older than me, so because in my dimension you're, like, technically dead. Anyway, she kind of is talking to the CEO. They make a bit of small talk. I'll probably take out this relationship as well if I had to, like, rewrite it. So she did bring up possibly thinking that Akira is turning into a monster. Now, technically speaking, MCA does know that supernaturals and Zunai can turn into monsters, but there is no exactly any treatment for it. It's like rabies in a sense, where it's like once you start showing the symptoms for it, you're basically fucked. there is no cure, there is no anything. If you start showing signs of rabies, then you're just dead. You're just dead. The only thing they can really do is just make it comfortable for you before you pass away. And she does say, like, listen, I can fix it. It seems to be in the early stages. All I need is some time. And you said the same thing about Emil. Again, another Zunai that she, like, had a relationship with that ended up turning into a monster. I know, sir. Marma, the CEO said sadly. I'm giving you the order to kill Akira Kurusu. She felt like she was going to throw up. No, this had to be a joke. Killing Akira. Akira was sweet. He was innocent. Sir, you're kidding, right? Akira, Marma said, trying to hide her disbelief. This is Akira we're talking about. He wouldn't hurt a fly. I've seen Akira's record, and he can more than hurt a fly. But I'm sure we can still fix him. She was desperate. She didn't want to kill another friend. It's still in its early stages. I can help him. Losing control of his powers is already too far, Ramson said. Maybe if you saw him earlier. Maybe if we could have tried something. But it's too late. She should have brought Akira in the minute she noticed his healing was off. Now she might have to kill him. But you don't have it. You don't have to do it now, Ramson said kindly. Spend some time with him. Enjoy being with him as much as you can. Tell him everything you need before he goes. Have a good day. And then he ended the call. Now, this is where the Marma starts to, like, disobey orders. In a technical standpoint, what the research has shown when it comes to, like, understanding, like, the connection between a supernatural turning into a monster is, like, you know, stress, like mental distress. And if more accumulates over time, going unresolved, then that's what kind of ends up happening and makes them turn into monsters. If they can get it done quickly or get them the help that they need quickly, then it can, like, either mitigate the symptoms. It might not be able to reverse the symptoms completely, but it can mitigate them. So this is where Marma starts to get the idea of, well, hey, if the metaverse is, like, a way to, like, reverse a person's psyche, like, return them back to, like, a better state of mind, what if I were to, like, go into the metaverse and, in a sense, help Akira and stop him from turning into a monster? Because she's like, oh, the palace could be connected to his monster transformation. If I can stop that, then I can stop the monster transformation. And that's kind of where she gets to. However, she doesn't have the metanav, so she doesn't really know what to do. So anyway, she decides that she's going to follow the Phantom Thieves to, like, understand a little bit more about them and how to, like, help. Anyway, the gang, they come to Young and Giant. So what are we waiting for? Ryuji asks. Morgana is looking out for Marma, Futaba said, making sure she doesn't follow us in. You honestly think she would do that? Yusuke asked. Yesterday it seemed like she didn't want anything to do with us. It's just a precaution, Makoto said. Just in case. We don't need her to cause any problems for us. It's clear. Morgana hopped down in front of them. She's nowhere to be seen. Do you need to worry about Akira following us? On asked. No, we don't. Futaba looked worried. He's been asleep all day. Akira sleeps late sometimes, Yuji said nonchalantly. That's not too bad. You don't understand, Futaba insisted. He hasn't woken up all day. Not at all? Haru asked worriedly. He woke up once, but that was to use the restroom, Morgana said. Other than that, he hasn't stayed awake long enough to eat or drink anything. Now that is concerning. This could be happening because of his palace, Makoto pondered. Morgana, is that possible? Well, it's not impossible, but she more see a sociological effect. But physical symptoms wouldn't be too out there. If it's already to the point of physical effects, then we shouldn't waste any time. Anne took out her phone and tapped the metanav. They felt the familiar twisting and going into a palace, the dizziness and nausea. Maybe give a warning next time, Anne. Futaba was steadying herself. Sorry, Anne said, embarrassed. I just got a bit carried away. Guys, look at this, Haru said. They were in a circular room. There were doors all around them, each one identical. A small slot was made in the wall that led to each door, and there were about 9 in total in this room. Looking up, there was just a blank sky, everything white and gray. What an interesting dimension, they heard a familiar voice say. They turned around in horror, and there was Marma. She was wearing a black jumpsuit, and they saw white lines on her face, fairy wings glistening in the light. You said she wasn't in the area, Futaba yelled. Well, I didn't see her. All I saw was a white butterfly. Realization dawned on Morgana. You fucking idiot, Ryuji yelled. How the hell did you forget something that important? It just slipped my mind, okay? They all looked at Marma, who either didn't bother to listen to their conversation or was just straight up ignoring them. New dimension, the metaverse, Marma said to herself, takes the form of person's thoughts. From what I've seen and heard, it only seems to take the form of negative thoughts and thinking. This is the first dimension that I've seen that is this selective in letting people in and can only be found using an app. There seems to be no creatures or inhabitants as of yet. You have to send her back, Yusuke said. Without Persona, she's just a burden. Yusuke's right, Makoto said. We don't know how long being here will affect her powers. She'll just be in danger. Well, who's gonna try and convince her, Yusuke said. They all looked at each other awkwardly. No one wanted to do it. Mara already made it obvious that she didn't like them, so there was no telling what she would do if she tried to get her out. I'll do it, Morgana said. I'm the reason she got here in the first place. Besides, she actually likes me. Morgana walked up to Marma, who was taking photos of the place. She saw him and immediately took a photo. She then took out measuring tape and took Morgana's height. Morgana cleared his throat. You have to leave. Marma jumped back, and they all looked shocked. The girl who killed a monster was afraid of a talking cat. But again, this is what Morgana looks like in the metaverse. Be honest if you wouldn't be a little frightened if you saw that shit. She got closer and Morgana repeated himself. You have to leave for your own. Marma kicked Morgana and sent him flying upwards. What the hell, man? Ryuji took out his metal pipe out. That's one of the weapons that he uses. Like, in the game, you get like different options. It's like a turn-based game. And you get different options. So you have a melee attack, which is like, you know, any like physical weapons like metal pipe, a whip, or, you know, you have also a knife, which is what Joker uses. You also have a gun or some sort of like mechanical weapon. And then you have your persona. So that's like any like mystical power. So melee, physical, and then persona. Most of the time, people don't really use personas, or they really save it for later on because the persona, it kind of takes a lot of energy, like SP. So it's more often that you use like a melee attack, and then there are different personas that like you use a melee attack or you use this attack. It's a whole thing that you gotta understand. Anyway, they start fighting each other and she whoops their fucking ass. And like, bad. And while they were doing all this, they find Akechi. Well, isn't this an interesting sight? A charming but sinister voice said. There stood Akechi, his outfit a white suit with red outlines and gold tassel and buttons. This is like his persona that he keeps in front of, like, for appearances, for the Phantom Thieves. This is what the Phantom Thieves thought his outfit looked like. This is not like his true outfit. This is just like his fake persona that he kind of has. I mean, it's technically real, but it's also fake. It's hard to explain. Anyway, Akechi is like, you know, all, I appreciate the help, mystery girl. He flashed a charming smile and pulled out a gun. But I don't need you getting in my way. And before he could pull the trigger, the gun burst into a swarm of butterflies. Marma hit him in the stomach with a staff, and they could hear a buzzing sound and Akechi crumbling to the ground in pain. Marma squatted down as she stared at Akechi as he grabbed his stomach in pain. There was no emotion on her face. It was cold and unfeeling. You know, Akira told me not to kill you. She put her arm around his neck. But I still think he'll understand why it had to be done. Black ribbons came down from the sky. They wrapped around Marma's torso. She twisted and rocked around, trying to escape the restraints. She soon gave up, breathing heavily. That's enough now, a boy said. They looked up and saw a dark figure of a boy. He was holding something in one hand, and the other was raised, keeping Marma restrained. Sorry, Marma, but I draw the line at killing, he said as he dropped down from the edge. Who are you? Makoto asked. Sorry, I should properly introduce myself. He stepped into the light. It was Akira. He was wearing his thief outfit, and in his arms was Morgana, who was asleep. They almost thought it was Akira if it wasn't for his eyes. Instead of a stone gray, they were a bright yellow. To avoid any confusion, call me Limbo. I'm one of Akira's shadows. He made a circle with his arm as he put it up to the sky. Welcome to Akira's Inferno. Yeah, I know. Title card. I got like 12 comments, but like let me explain myself a little bit further when it comes to like the shadows. So shadows are basically a person, like a person with a palace's like inner manifestations. So basically what Akira's shadow is just like him and how he views himself, and he's basically like the leader of his entire palace. Now, because Akira has like multiple personas, I thought it would have been a fun idea that he has multiple shadows. So for each circle that we enter into, each shadow is going to be different and is going to represent a different part of Akira. Limbo is going to be the most helpful out of all the other shadows because he actually has like a stake in this. He's a more self-perversing shadow. He understands that like if he gets rid of his palace, that it's a good for not just him, but for Akira as a whole. So he's a bit more self-preserving. A few of the other ones also have a bit of a self-preserving tactic, but the other ones, the deeper you go, get a bit more dangerous and hostile and angry. So after a while, it starts to become more, like it becomes more difficult as stuff goes on. And that was like my main thing. For each one, you kind of have to go through a circle, you defeat them, or they let you pass, something of that order. And that's basically what I came up with. Anyway, let's read some of the comments from back in, what would this have been? 2021. And, you know, they were all excited. This is fucking, like, you know, they were very excited. Oh yeah, and someone wanted me to continue a fan fiction that the person stopped writing, but I said, you know, I don't have like permission from that person to continue writing like their fanfic. 5 more chapters to go, so let's hurry this up. Anyway, like I said, this is all taking place within like Dante's Inferno and was heavily referenced from Dante's Inferno. So there are like, Dante's Inferno popularized the idea of like there being different circles of hell. Like it kind of made that, it's like what mainstreamed the idea. Is this religiously accurate? No, not at all. In fact, Dante's Inferno is commonly referred to in the literature and even the religious community as being biblical fan fiction, because it is quite literally just Dante talking about like journeying through hell and then journeying into heaven, and then that's about it. Anyway, it did popularize the idea that there are different circles of hell, and how it goes is that you have number 1, limbo, number 2, lust, number 3, I'm pretty sure, let me look it up quickly. You see how I shouldn't be doing, you know, impromptu videos? It just messes with the flow and it makes things longer than it has to be. But yeah, I was getting it right the first few times. So first, limbo for like non-believers and pagans. Lust is the second circle. Next is gluttony. Next is greed, wrath, heresy, violence, fraud, and then finally treachery. And each one was supposed to be like different. For gluttony, I kind of made that more like laziness as opposed to like, you know, constantly eating, hoarding food and stuff like that. Greed was gonna be a more like way of looking at being like selfish instead of like greedy. Wrath was definitely gonna be rage. I was thinking about getting rid of heresy, and if I did have heresy, I think it'd have been just like something like, you know, going against the grains of things, or just like not conforming to society. Violence was very tricky for me to do because it technically falls into like rage also, but I decided that violence was going to be a completely different thing, of him like hiding a secret, or more so you just have to like fight and win. Fraud was going to be an interesting one. I was really excited to do fraud because fraud was going to be like a mirror world where you kind of had to like navigate like the truth between the lies and which memory was real and which one was fake. And it was a whole like mechanism that I wanted to do. Treachery was going to be the final circle, and treachery is like the big bad of the entire fic. Like everyone is basically scared of treachery because treachery is like the final circle and is the one that kind of is in charge of everything, and where the treasure basically is being hidden. So back to circle 1. They all stared at Akira, or Limbo, in shock, as he said, smiling at them. So, Limbo walked closer to them. You're trying to steal his treasure. Yes, we are, Makoto said, standing up. And you're not stopping us. I wouldn't dream of it, Limbo beamed. Another thing they didn't expect. A palace ruler never made it easy to get their treasure. But he actually wanted his heart stolen. Hold on, Beauty said, walking up to him. You're saying you want your heart stolen. You're not trying to fight us? I don't want to fight you, and I'm not stopping you from taking the treasure. Doesn't mean the others won't. Others? Marma asked, still struggling to get out of the ribbons that were holding her down. So there are more of you. Unfortunately, yes, my sweet. Limbo tapped her nose, which means I have competition. Fall for me and not those. He's being like overly romantic. Like Limbo was, he's more like these hidden emotions that Akira like keeps in. So Akira will keep in certain emotions, and Limbo is like those emotions coming out in full force and not exactly hiding them. You know how you want to know how you can up your chance? And she's asking to be let down, and he's like, oh well, do you promise not to kill anyone? Yes. And then she's like, they have like their little flirting, jesting, and they get all upset. But anyway, basically we kind of understand that the way to progress into other circles is by finding a memory that is tied to whichever circle it represents. So in Limbo, all they really have to do is find the memory that would be most important to Akira, which memory would mean the most to him. So they're basically walking around and looking at different memories that belong to like Akira and understanding him better. So we see a memory of him going to get diagnosed with like schizophrenia and his parents being a bit upset about that. We find another one where it's basically like a whole puzzle. Like it's very hard for everyone to figure out like what exactly is making Akira tick like this. As they continue to like look more and more to try and find things, there's a lot of like banter that goes on between Marma, the Phantom Thieves, and Goro, because they all have like their differing reasons for being there. And they do ask Limbo for some help, but Limbo says that it's like, well, yes, I do, because again, he is a shadow. So even if he wants for things to happen, he still has like this self-preservation, because if they get rid of the treasure, the palace disappears, and if the palace disappears, then he disappears. So in a sense, he can't stop himself from like just outright saying like, well, here's the memory, you can go find it, and this is what it is. So there is like a little mechanism that's like stopping him from straight up saying, oh, this is where it is. He's still like self-preserving himself for the greater good of his like own survival. So as much as he wants to help, there's a limit to what he can do. And so everyone's like asking him, and he's like, listen, my lips are sealed, I can't say anything. So get used to it, Limbo shrugged. Do you think when you get to the lower circles they'll give you hints and show you the way? Because if you do, then you're all screwed. Alright then, I don't want to be here any longer, so I'm just going to guess now. It's when your sister died, wasn't it? Limbo blinked in shock. You don't hold back, do you? Never have. Well, as strong as I guess it was, you are dead wrong. Seriously? Marma looked at him shocked. Your sister dying didn't start all this mess? You literally didn't leave bed for a week after her death. I had to force you to use the restroom. The memory is important, Limbo said solemnly, but it's not here. It's not in this circle. Then which circle? Limbo zipped his lips and smiled as Marma groaned. I thought you knew him better than us, Goro said with snark. I don't want to hear it, detective, bitch. I don't know. I liked her calling him a bitch all the time. I got it, Ryuji explained. When you unlocked your persona. Are you sure? And of course, that's not what happened. It wasn't him unlocking his persona that caused that. Again, they keep, they keep like saying ideas out loud to one another, trying to figure out like, okay, what exactly happened. And then Marma suggests it was the day that they first met, when Akira was like running away from a monster and his dog ended up dying. And this was also when like they go into MCA, meet each other for the first time. It's a whole little thing. Anyway, this is the memory. And the memory was when Akira first discovered his powers that helps him to become Azunai. He basically was begging for a little violin for Christmas as he was sitting at his bed in awe. You better not lose interest in that thing, Akira's dad said. You bothered us into getting it for you for Christmas. I better see you use it. I will. I mean, it's not that he has an interest in music. What 5-year-old is interested in violin? Maybe he just likes how it sounds? What does this violin sound like? Akira made the sound for a drum. Well, at least he'll stop asking. They left the room and Akira immediately opened the case. There was a beautiful violin inside, light brown that glowed in the light. Akira picked it up and softly plucked a string. As the world burst into a flash of colors and everything started to, turn colorful, and then the memory turned into a door. It's a starting point, Limbo responded. Well, off you go. I have to go somewhere. And if I'm late, he's going to be mad. Call my name if you need my help. And then he disappeared. Marma opened the door. Nowhere to go but down. The ninth circle was as cold as ever, probably because its owner was beyond furious with him. He knew the minute that the Phantom Thieves entered that it would be good help, but if he knew treachery, would be pissed. But he took that chance. He was really starting to regret it now. Snow fell down and ice cracked and turned darker. He heard footsteps and ice breaking. Oh, he was pissed. A boy he looked exactly like him, except with white gloves, came storming in. Treachery. He opened his arms wide. Long time no see. How are you doing? But a punch hit him directly in the face as he fell to the ground, blood dripping from his nose. You idiot. I could kill you. But if I die, you die too. Well, what the hell were you thinking? He yelled. You didn't fight them or anything. You know why. It's pointless. Nothing is going to save him. We don't know that. Then you let Marma in here. Are you insane? She can help. And that's the problem. I know deep down you want your heart stolen. We need them. Treachery kicked him in the stomach, sending him flying across the room. Listen to me. You are not going to help them anymore. And if you do, it will make you beg for death. Got it? I got it. And with that, Treachery left. He uncrossed his fingers. Just like you, Treachery, I'm a great liar. Chapter 11. Circle 2. Lust. After a long walk on the staircase, the group had walked into a rose garden. It was similar to when they arrived in Limbo Circle, well, except it wasn't white and lifeless. The sky was blue and cloudless, with a bright sun shining down on the garden. Tall hedges full of pink and red roses surrounded them and came to an arch that led out. A fountain stood in the middle of the garden, and the hedges were red doors with vines covering them. Rose petals fell from the sky and landed on the cobblestone ground. This is beautiful, Haru said as she picked one of the roses. It's like something straight out of a movie, Makoto said. But this is still our enemy, Marma said. We can't be fooled by pretty scenery. This could all be a trap. Classic Marma. Always wary no matter what, a voice said. A boy stood under the arch. He had the same attire as Limbo, except now his gloves were pink. You must be Akira's shadow. The second of 9, he grinned. Call me Lust. Lust? Please don't tell me we gotta look at a bunch of lovey-dovey shit. Lust bit his lips. Okay, I won't say that then. Ryuji groaned. So let me guess, the memories revolve around love, Marma said. Akira pinched her cheek. You're so smart. Marma shoved his hand away as Lust took a step back. But Marma is right. This circle is all about love. Whether it be familiar, friendship, or even romantic. All these memories revolve around when Akira felt a deep sense of love for that person. Let me guess, Goro said dryly. We're going to have to walk around this perfume maze to try and find it. Actually, I'll take you directly to where it is. Now they were suspicious. And then they didn't completely trust Limbo, but if there's one thing they could trust, is that it was going to get harder. Though Limbo wasn't too tricky, it was still a challenge. He still had them work for it and earn it. Now, this one was wanting to lead them directly to the memory. It just didn't make any sense. So what's the catch, Morgana asked. It can't be that simple. Lust put a hand to his chin and thought. I guess the catch is, the memory always changes. Changes, Yusuke questioned. If this is about love, then shouldn't it stay the same? Lust is different. Lust is physical. You just like them physically and have no emotional care, Marma said. I do care emotionally, Lust whined. It just tends to differ a lot. Uh-huh. Yeah, sure it is, Marma muttered. Just take us and let's hope it works. The room they were taken to was Akira's room. It was different from when he was a kid. Now it was neater and had less stuff in it. Akira was sitting at his desk doing homework while there was someone in his bed. Don't tell me that this is when I got sick. So there were different memories, and this was like him taking care of Marma while she was sick. I'm just gonna like skip through it all because it's cringy as hell. But anyway, it didn't end up working, so they go to the next memory. The next one is when they were at the summer festival with Marma. It was very sweet and cute, and I'm gonna like go through that again. Unfortunately, it wasn't that memory either. The group stared at the ruin as Lush chased after them. Just one more memory, please, Lush begged. No way, Haru yelled. You keep saying one more memory and then you never keep your promise. She's right, Morgana said. You're just distracting us. We'll do better by ourselves. Let's go. You don't actually think I'm letting you go, Lush said, his voice taking a sinister edge. What? Makoto asked. Listen, I'm just trying to do what's best for you. Lush snapped his figure as the road behind them turned into a thorny hedge. Shit, Goro yelled. The probability of you even making it past Greed is very low, and treachery has already been on edge. Why, he was here before you guys even came. You can't just keep us here against our will, Marma explained. That's not love. Well, sometimes you just have to do bad stuff for the people you care about. His eyes glared at Marma. You should know, Marma. If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you'll get. Ryuji took out his pipe and got into a fighting stance. Oh, I have no interest in a squabble. Lush snapped his fingers. 9 pink cages fell on them as they started to bang on the walls trying to escape. Don't worry, it looks small on the outside, but big on the inside. It'll have all the necessities. I'll check on you later. They heard another snap as the cages lifted into the sky. They were trapped in Lush's garden. Now, chapter 12, Lustful. Now, Marma is like just trapped in like this very pretty room that's just supposed to complement what like lust is supposed to be. Now, Limbo comes to visit her. It worked. Her surprise turned into excitement. It worked. She basically summoned Lust, and he comes over. A thank you would be nice, Limbo sarcastically said. Thank you. She grabbed a knife and put it to his throat. Now tell me why I'm back here. Basically, she ended up escaping from the cage, but the minute that she got out, she was returned back into like the room. Why? And it's Jinx, Limbo yelled. Unless the key unlocks the door, then you'll constantly be brought back. She put the knife away and patted his cheek. Now that wasn't hard, was it? You can be a serious bitch sometimes, he muttered. I meant, he tries to like take it back, but you know. So how exactly do I get this key from Lust? A mischievous smirk appeared on his face. As I just said, you're bewitching, and Lust has quite the interest in you. She didn't like the sound of this at all. I don't think I understand. Marma, you're a lot of things, but dumb isn't one of them. And then it all started to click. So basically, she's just trying to like romance Lust so that she can get the key. And she does manage to do that. They all end up getting out and escaping, and it becomes a whole other thing where they basically are trying to escape and figure it out. So chapter 13, Personas, Twins, and Talking Dogs. So they end up, this was a very stupid one, I won't even lie. Marma basically gives them like a secret hideout. Oh, I forgot to mention that she unlocks her persona, and it's Artemis, who is the goddess of the hunt. Because a lot of the personas are either based off of like gods, fictional characters, or important historical figures. It all very much varies in between person to person. But I made hers based off of Artemis because there are a lot of like Greek gods inside of the hell, I think there's even a Christianity references within Persona 5. Like I think it has Gabriel, the Archangel, in Persona 5. Editor me, check that to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that's true. But anyway, they end up getting out and they have like a secret hideout. It's a whole other thing. So Marma's plan is to basically have her twin sister, Marla. Yeah, I know. I was so original. I was so quirky and I was just on top completely. But she decides to have her sister basically play the role as her because Akira does not think she has an actual twin sister because he's never actually officially met her. It's like he's never been in the same room as the two, so he doesn't think she has a twin sister. So they basically have this plan where they're gonna like go into the metaverse and they try to like get through as many circles of hell as they can, while her sister basically monitors Akira to make sure that his condition doesn't worsen, because she decides to tell them that, hey, he's turning into a monster. If we don't get this done, then not only is he not going to be able to help you with Shido, he is going to like fucking kill people. And I was literally given the order to like kill him. So they decide to like just come to an agreement and they shake hands on it. So next is chapter 14, Lust's Labyrinth. So Akira opened his eye. This is a whole dream sequence of him getting married. It was stupid. It was stupid. I'll admit that it was stupid. But anyway, after all of that happened, he's starting to like really regress in like his physical symptoms. He's starting to get sicker. Again, the symptoms would like play out with like physical symptoms, losing control of your powers, sleeping a lot more, and then getting physically sick. After that, it starts to progress into more like violent tendencies, eating raw meats, stuff like that, that starts to like just progress really, really bad. So he's already in like a very bad downward spiral, with him being like really, really sick and delirious from it. They're all kind of like worried because he's like really delirious from like sickness, and they decide that, you know, again, Marla's gonna watch out and keep in contact with them. And with Marma having like interdimensional technology, it makes it easier to stay in contact, because in the metaverse, most of the time technology does not work like cell phones. So having someone with technology that can technically work there is very, very helpful. They come up with a code name for Marma, and it's gonna be she decides she wants to be Midnight, but the entire like gang is against it. It's like, well, what's wrong with it? Marla asks. It's like, nothing. It just... And Fox is like, boring. Fox interrupted. Unoriginal, uninspired, lacking creativity, waste of... Okay, quit while you're ahead, Fox. Marma growled. I think you should go by Moth. Ryuji shrugged. Are you trying to say I'm ugly? Ryuji backed away and shook his head. No, I don't mean it like that. It's just because, it's just your theme or whatever. What he means is that it fits you, Limbo said as he sat on a hedge covered in thorns, not looking bothered in the slightest. Then maybe... It's stupid. Anyway, they decide to, like, you know, get some stuff done. And you're not trying to trick us, right? You're a shadow after all. Surely you have an agenda you want to achieve. Limbo smiled darkly. You're completely right. I do have an agenda, and I need your help. It depends on what you want. Queen was already in a fighting position. I'm not looking for a fight. In fact, what I want is actually in line with your goal. So spit it out already. Skull reached his limit. I want you to destroy this palace, Limbo smiled. A shadow that wants his palace destroyed. That doesn't make any sense, Mona said. Hello, Oracle yelled. I'm right here. I wanted you guys to change me. Yeah, but your shadow wasn't very fond of the idea, remember? Oh yeah, the whole fight thing, Oracle sighed. I forgot about that. Actually, that makes complete sense. Ma finally said something. What about this makes sense? Crow asked. I haven't seen a shadow ask for it to be destroyed before. As I said earlier, this place is based off of Dante's Inferno. There are 9 shadows, and Limbo is the only one who wants to be destroyed. Probably because he acts the most like Akira. I'm a bit lost, Panther questioned. What does act the most like Akira mean? Well, the shadows are all represented in the circles they're in. They've all been completely morphed into just one facet of Akira's personality. But Limbo is different. Limbo is a barrier between life and death. And here, he's a border between Akira's true personality and his darker side. That's why he acts like him, but is still resistant to fully helping. He can only help as much as his role allows. Moth, you've done it again. Are you serious? I've never heard of a shadow like that, Crow yelled. Well, we've never seen a palace with 9 different rulers, have you? Limbo added. This seemed to shut Crow up for a while. So, do you know what memory it is? Noir asked. Unfortunately, I don't. Though I can make a guess. Limbo put a finger to his temple. See, all of us share every memory Akira has, but we're all sorted by what emotion fits in. Like, my circle is basically the trash bin of memories. So basically, you know all the memories and which one is the key. Queen looked like she was going to snap. And you didn't tell us this? You didn't ask. You want us to destroy this place, but you won't tell us the stuff that can help? Again, you didn't ask. Queen seemed to be holding back, strangling Limbo right then and there. But Limbo just smiled and started to walk. Where are you going? Moth asked as Limbo effortlessly avoided the thorns and vines. To show you one of the memories, obviously. Limbo leaped up onto a hedge. Watch your step, or he'll know you're here. The memory opened on a beach. Oh, this is a stupid memory that I did. It made no sense. Damn, it is gonna... Man, you know that it's still wintertime if where I live, 5:30, the sun is already, like, going down. But I kind of like it when it gets dark quicker. I know that's, like, really unpopular, but I've always, like, preferred it. Like, I've never understood in the States where it's, like, at 9:30 the sun is still out. That's fucking insane to me. Like, not even in the summertime is the sun out for that long where I live. Like, it's insane. It's uncanny to me. But anyway, they all have their little, like, memory, and they're, like, looking and having fun. So, the actual memory, I'm trying to, like, find it. The actual memory that unlocks the door to get into the second circle was a memory of Akira at his sister's funeral, more specifically at her grave, with Marma there, and Marma kind of used her powers to, like, bring a bunch of flowers, and butterflies were all over the place. It was, like, very romantic and very sweet. So anyway, once that memory unlocks, you know, Lust comes down and he's like, you know, I'm really tired of helping. Lust took out his dagger and spun it around. I mean, those cages were there to keep you safe, and all I get is you guys leaving and having to fight Limbo. Because I forgot to mention, while they were looking for the memory, Lust found them again, and so Limbo decided to fight him. Open the door, Limbo ran towards the entrance. Rudy was the first one there, and he tried to turn the knob to no avail. He even banged on the door with his feet and still nothing. The hell, man, Ryuji yelled. Let us out. Oh, I don't think so. Lust snapped his fingers as red and pink flames surrounded the entire room. Since you all refused my protection, it's time I went to plan B. Lust got into a fighting stance, stopping you from going further, even if I have to kill you. Lust has grievances. So this was my last update for the fic. We're at the final chapter from when I decided to, like, basically abandon the fic. Again, if y'all want, maybe I'll continue. Maybe. Very high maybe. But the last time I updated this fic was 2023. And this was when I was like... Yeah, this was when I was in my first year of college. That's crazy to think about, but yeah. I was in my first year of college, and this was probably at the height of me doing university, because I was definitely very busy, because this was before school ended, since it ends pretty early. Anyway, chapter 15. Lust's grievances. You're going to die here, Lust said, as fire rained down and the thieves evaded them as best as they could. Oracle, Queen was barely able to dodge the ball of fire. Do you know any of his weaknesses? Oracle tapped away on her keyboard, but nothing showed. It doesn't show anything, but he's definitely immune to fire. The shadow that uses fire is immune to it. Crow lunged at Lust with his sword and was able to get a hit. I wouldn't have guessed. Panther, which is on, Queen started barking out orders. Focus on melee and healing. Skull, Crow, and Limbo use melee until we know he can handle our attacks. Noir, Mona, keep him distracted. Moth, try and get to a higher point for attacks and figure out what your persona can do. On it, she didn't like being ordered around, but at least she got good leadership. Marma ran across the room looking for a small ledge she could perch on, but to no avail. I'll just make one myself. A swarm of butterflies burst from her back as she carried her towards the ceiling. Up above, fighting looked like a dance. Limbo stood... 1 second. So Marma is trying to figure out how to, like, summon her persona and get her powers so that she can help with the fighting, and she's very confused by everything. So she started, like, thinking that as, like, her own power, like, you know, like summoning her butterflies and stuff. And then there was, like, this, like, woman-like creature. She was dazzling. Anyway, Artemis is there, bow at the ready. You summon? I need to stop him. Marma pointed at Lust, who was throwing fire at Makoto. I see. Artemis surveyed everything. Kill or subdue? Subdued, why do you ask? You see how he fights? Lust will slash in the air with his daggers in a blind rage. He doesn't fight like a man. He fights like an animal. You can't beat an animal's strength, but you can beat their smarts. Outsmart him, but how? Marlo's more confused than before. I'm not seducing him again. What have you learned so far? This place is crazy. It's basically a pocket dimension. Every floor is based on a part of Akira's personality to the extreme. They reset when I got it. So that was also a plot point where basically while they were like walking around in limbo, at some point limbo just like kind of froze and they couldn't like get him to do anything, and then he came back and he basically says that like, yeah, every time Akira falls asleep we get new memories, so we always have like a reset and we can't do anything until he falls asleep. So Marla liked it when people gave her attention, and she liked it a lot, but she was not liking this. Again, Akira, delirious from fever, thinks that this is Marma, and so he's like being very protective of her and like cuddling up with her and talking about how much he loves her. Anyway, she finds him being a weirdo, but is like, yeah, he's a perfect match for my sister. They're both fucking strangers, like really bizarre little people. Anyway, there's a call and Marma calls Marla. I can hear you fine, she rubs her ear. What's wrong? Do what I tell you, okay? Why? Marla jokes. I'm the eldest. We are fucking twins, and I was born first. And you'll die first if you keep this up. What do I have to do? Is Akira asleep or awake? Marma asked. Marla heard a screech and someone saying there was a fire or something. Or someone was on fire. He is very much awake. Marla looked up the staircase to see him looking at her. She gave him a small wave and he hurried back. Honestly, it's like taking care of a cat. I know, right? She heard something swooshing in the background. Arrows? Yeah, Marma had good marksmanship. I hate to say it, but I wish he was sick more often. Artemis, it's so adorable. I'm jealous. Maybe I'll just keep pretending to be you. Ha, very funny. Something exploded. Now, go to the bag I gave you. Marla followed the direction and went to a duffel bag that Marma had left her with. Akira watched from his bed. Now on the right side, there are some syringes with a pink liquid. Get that. Got it. Okay, you need to inject Akira with that to knock him out, Marla said. Marla turned around and saw Akira had wrapped himself up in a blanket and looked like he was scared. Is Akira afraid of needles? Marla asked as she began to approach. Oh, definitely, Marla responded. Try to be as gentle as possible. If he runs, just don't get stuck yourself with that syringe by accident. Why? It'll put you in a coma. Like, I'll be asleep for a long time, or is an actual coma? Marma deadpan. Okay, I gotta go. Love you. And before she hung up, she heard, F you, Lust. I thought I was spitting. I thought I was spitting for real, for real. She hung up the phone and slowly approached Akira. His eyes grew wide as he tried to back away more. Akira, Marma said calmly as she walked up to him very slowly. That was a doctor, and he says that this medicine will help you. And yeah, it became really hard, and she was able to inject him as he slowly fell asleep. But he does talk about how he doesn't want to fall asleep because he doesn't want the lady to come back. And she asks, what lady? And the lady from the incident. The incident? Well, it's just a dream. I'm sure she can't hurt you in a dream. She does. Akira's eyes started to droop. The scar is still there. Scar? Marma watched as Akira had finally drifted off to sleep. Akira, what do you mean? Akira? But it was no use though. He had already fallen asleep. I gotta do it myself. She took the covers off and examined Akira's body. It was tough to look at, but after a thorough examination, she realized something wasn't regular. These weren't regular dreams. This had to be that dream monster of some sort. Akira's entire body seemed to have been tortured. His legs were colored black and blue with small red slashes decorating them. His arms had bite marks and they looked like someone actually ate his arm. More bruises and scratches littered his arm, and something that looked like a stab wound was by his heart. This was already upsetting because he had been there the whole time. Akira hadn't made any noise in his sleep to say that he was having a nightmare. So how are these scars here? Dream monsters can only torment psychologically. That's how they hunted. but they can't hurt you in a dream. And then you would have two marks to wake, and then you have the marks awake. She didn't even want to think about why Azunai hadn't healed them. Oh, Marla shook her head. I hope you don't lose him too. Thank gods for Marla. Just on time, Limbo froze while attacking Lust, meaning and then Lust starts to like freeze as well, and then they do like their all-out attack, which is like a very common thing within the game, where if every like once they get like a certain like persona in like a certain like level, I mean if the persona gets like a certain like energy level and they like get weakened, you can perform an all-out attack, and that it can be like a killing blow to whatever persona, and that's basically what they do, and then they win. But Lust, you know, he's very upset about it. He's like, you don't understand the danger. Lust wiped away his tears. I thought that I could just keep you distracted, but that didn't work. Then cages and you still escape. This was my last resort. But what are you so afraid of? Haru rubbed circles in his back. What's down there that you don't want us to see? Limbo, you didn't tell them? Lust looked stunned as Limbo looked away. There was no point. They would go regardless. What didn't you say this time? Moth grabbed Lindo by his collar and he frowned. It gets very dangerous once you leave Sloth's circle. Oh yeah, I had changed gluttony to sloth instead, since sloth is also like considered like a deadly sin. So I have replaced gluttony with sloth. They don't hesitate to kill you if it means keeping what happened a secret. But what secret? Mona asked. Akira's worst crime, Limbo explained. The others are in Trushru's back pocket and will make sure that we won't find out the truth. They will kill us. They'll kill us if necessary. That seems like something real important, Ryuji yelled. Will hearing it stop you from saving Akira? Limbo asked. They looked at each other and knew what happened, and the face was worth it. Don't you care about him that much? Lust seemed shocked at the agreement. Well, I want to be the one responsible for his demise, Crow said, earning a scowl from Marma. That's good to hear, Lust said, with help from Noir, moved from the door. Then you should be off to Sloth. He'll help you out a lot more than I did. Thanks, Lust, Limbo said as he opened the door for them. Thieves first. He was back in the interrogation room. Why? Why wasn't it over? Why was he being brought back here? And that's kind of where we end off, with him being tortured by the monster lady. I am gonna say I do kind of wish I continued it, but I would change like a whole lot of other stuff. Again, there's a lot of things that I'm gonna have to rework for my like original series. Once I get better at drawing, of course, I'll make my own little series Bible, like my whole like character Bible and everything, so I can like have better organization. If you guys want, maybe I'll finish it off. Maybe I'll go back for nostalgia's sake and finish it up, but who knows really. But it was really nice to just like reread this old fanfic that I made during the pandemic, and it's just like nostalgia, honestly. Like going back, seeing how I'm turning 21 very soon, I think it was really nice to just have like this time to just go back and enjoy myself and see how far I've come in my writing journey. But if you want me to like review more fanfics, if you want to stay around for my Genshin Impact video series, or you want to see me talk about my Genshin Impact fanfic, which is going to be a very long time from now, I'm not even going to lie to you. But if you want all of that, then please like and subscribe and follow my channel so that I can move to Canada, because America's going to shit. That's not me being hyperbolic. They just ended federal funds as I'm recording this. Isn't that fucking fun? But I do want to finish the rest of my university in Canada and then move to Canada. So hey, like and subscribe and come back next time. Bye-bye.